My name is Jake Deere, and I'm just so honored to be here because it's an education conference, and I told my mom that I'm going to learn a lot today because I'm at an education conference. She said it's about time. Before we begin, we have to acknowledge that we are gathered on the treaty lands and the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We recognize the importance of acknowledging this land and the indigenous peoples and the elders that took care of it for thousands of years before any of us stepped foot here. We pay respect to all Anishinaabe, as well as First Nation, Métis, and Inuit past, present, and future. Chi Miigwech, thank you very much. It's so important that we acknowledge the land. So, the program is very, it's on your table, by the way. I have to tell you, Vipul does a great job, him and his team. His team is probably a team of one, but he does an incredible job. Very, very organized. I had a chance to meet with him a few days ago as we went through the itinerary. I was so impressed with how he puts together his events. They're so organized, and it's really absolutely wonderful. And you know, one of the things that he said to me, Jake, the support that I get from my partners, from my sponsors from day one has just been incredible. And so on behalf of IMEC and Vipul, thank you to each and every one of you for that continued support. There's a long list of all the wonderful sponsors in the back, and please, we'll acknowledge them later, but thank you. The agenda is, so we had some nice refreshments. Cookies and samosas mixed together. Like, how does that make you feel, huh? And please, by all means, there's still coffee and tea outside, water, help yourself, and all that, right? We have, I'm going to invite Vipul very shortly to talk about the day, but we'll have a session one at around 11 o'clock that'll speak to the economic impact of international students in Canada, and then session two will be challenges faced by international students here and the possible solutions for them. I think that's very important. That's a meaningful discussion. And then we'll have a wonderful family-style lunch. It'll be a vegetarian lunch, which is awesome because I'm vegetarian. Not that you care, but... And then at 2 o'clock, we have session 3, which will be India's new education policy and how Canadian institutions can partner and benefit from it. I see a number of the schools that are here, so that's, I think, another very important, meaningful conversation. And then there's a very special announcement that's going to take place, and you know, we'll talk about that later on. And then I'll bring Vipul up here to do some closing remarks, and there'll be an opportunity to do some more networking and so on. So again, thank you very much to each and every one of you for being here. You could be elsewhere, but you chose to be here for a wonderful, wonderful day of great conversation and incredible learning. I would like to invite many of you, in fact all of you probably know him. He's the founder and director of IMEC. Please welcome Mr. Vipul Jani. I think we have a video as well right now, or is it a PowerPoint presentation? Video, yeah, let's play that.
Impact Media and Events Corporation is the fastest growing platform on Canada-India bilateral corridor, hosting back-to-back business and political leader roundtables, conferences, welcome receptions, gala, and other activities. IMEC also raises funds for various charitable causes and organizations. Senior business leaders and political leaders from all across Canada now participate actively and enthusiastically at IMEC events. Come join us and let us all grow together. For more information, visit our website at www.imec.biz or call us at 416-827-5189.
Very good. On that note, please welcome the founder, the director of IMEC, Mr. Vipul Jani.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, everyone. It's good to see you, everybody, at 10 o'clock on a work day. Anyway, so welcome to IMEC Canada-India Education Conference 2023. Can everybody hear me well? This is actually the 6th education session that I am hosting since 2021. The previous 5 were done virtually because of the pandemic. As you have just seen on the screens, Impact Media and Events Corporation, or IMEC as we call it, is a 23-year-old company based now in Brampton since 2009. We primarily do the following activities: business leaders roundtables, welcome and farewell receptions for visiting delegations and dignitaries, annual charity gala events where we recognize up to 50 prominent business and political leaders from all across Canada and have been raising $50,000 each year for various Canadian charities. Annual golf tournament, Canada-India Education Conference like the one today, Women Business Leaders Roundtables, Pride Conference, and various other events and conferences on the bilateral Canada-India corridor. Presidents and CEOs of large corporations cutting across sectors like hotels and hospitality, healthcare and pharmaceuticals, infrastructure, energy, banking, institutional investors, pension funds, investment attraction agencies like Invest India, Invest Alberta, Invest Ontario, Invest Yukon, cabinet ministers from Government of India, Government of Canada, various provincial ministers from, again, Alberta, Yukon, Ontario, BC, and more have participated at IMEC events for the last several years. Today's education conference comes at a very challenging time, something none of us would have thought about just a few months ago. International students, especially from India, form a very large chunk of students at Canadian colleges and universities, contributing more to Ontario's education sector than the contribution from the Government of Ontario itself. 22 or 25 billion dollars that everyone talks about is just the tuition fees, I believe. So what about the other supplementary contributions they make in the economy, like rent, or food, entertainment, all other kinds of expenses they incur while living here? Many of them eventually become permanent residents and citizens as well, making lifelong contributions through their knowledge, money, and more. Unfortunately, international students are not getting the attention they deserve. We cannot see them as walking and talking dollars only. They are human beings. Many of them come to a different country, to a very different environment for the first time at a relatively young age. While many have friends or relatives here, not everyone is so lucky. As we will hear from the speakers today, there are big opportunities and bigger challenges. Discussions like this are very important. While we'll discuss the situation here in Canada most of the time, we'll also hear about the new education policy in India, which can be a game changer for Canadian institutions, as it can offer them the scale and the size they can only dream about here in Canada. This sector is way too important to be allowed to be hijacked by a political expediency and short-term damage that is being done to the bilateral relations these days. As tensions were rising last month, I was told by people to postpone this event and do it next year. I said, no way, even if 5 people show up, the event will still go ahead. What we are doing is positive, meaningful work. Why should someone's negative agenda override our positive work? That's the way I look at it. If we want to talk about opportunities and challenges, there is no better time than today, right? Apart from the discussions and presentations today, we'll be raising funds for Suno Canada, a Mississauga-based charity that focuses on mental health, depression, suicides, prostitution, and etc. other issues faced by international students So please support them with whatever you can. There are donation forms on each table, one for each person in this room. So even $100, $200, $500, whatever contributions you can make will help make life a little easier for the students at this time. You will also get a charitable tax receipt for your contributions. So no one will come and sit on your head, forcing or pushing or embarrassing anybody. It's entirely optional. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. We'll collect all the donation forms just during the lunch and then announce the amount later. We'll also be making a very special announcement around 3 p.m. for a first of its kind scholarship program between a Canadian Education Institute, a Canadian corporate house, and an education charity in India. This is one pilot project I'm very, very excited and happy about. Throughout the day, you can also visit the booths in the hall to find out about what they do and what they can offer. None of this would have been possible without the support and participation of our sponsors. Let me acknowledge their support. So thank you to the following IMEC annual sponsors. Presenting sponsors, Simply Financial and Om Financial, Srihari Education Consultants, HSBC Bank Canada, Seneca Polytechnic, Sunray Group, Alpine Tech Q, Mortgage Diligent, Lotus Funeral and Cremation Center, SBI Canada Bank, Lesser Cosmetics Clinic, ICICI Bank Canada, Real Time Security, Canon International, Ottawa Education Group, Lovely Travel, Amar Bhatia, Jeevan Nivas, CCITS, Indus Community Services, and One Place. And we would invite anyone who wish to join us as our annual partners. That way we can do all these activities together. We do about 12 to 15 such events per year. Thank you as well to all the table and booth sponsors today. You will see them on the screens throughout the day. So we are so happy to see them here as well. As I said, I do a lot of big and small events very regularly and know exactly how addictive a microphone can be. So I also know when the audience starts to take their smartphones out of their pockets and start ignoring whatever you're saying. So I will stop right here and hand over the microphone to our MC for tonight, Jake Deer. Jake, by the way, is a senior executive with Rogers, and he has been MCing as a passion for well over 100 years, right? I mean, that's how you feel when you see him everywhere, all the time. So we love you, brother. Please take over.
Thank you. I look pretty darn good for 100, eh? Folks, you guys are very serious. I know it's education and all, but come on, let's relax, enjoy ourselves. We're going to be here until 4 o'clock, okay? So let's have some fun, but let's enjoy with this meaningful conversation. Thank you very much, Vipul. I've always enjoyed your company. You do a great job, sir. And Vipul spoke about Suno Canada, and let me just tell you a little bit about it. Suno Canada is an educational charity based in Mississauga, working on issues like mental health, prostitution, depression, suicide, and numerous other issues that are faced by international students. We have a brief video, I think, that we're going to play right now, right? That talks about Suno Canada.
Suno to me is a group of like-minded individuals coming together to help avoid this crisis from getting worse than it is. Suno is a way for these international students to have someone that's there to listen to them. Right now, we don't know what their support system is, if any. We want these students to know that we're here for us to listen to what's going on with them. And I believe that thus like-minded individuals working with corporations and individuals as well to spread out the message, to be able to show these international students that we're there to help them. You know, this is not just a Toronto issue, Brampton issue, a Peterborough issue. I think this is a national issue that's taking place. And I've had the privilege of going to different cities and working there in this career and in past careers. So I feel like we are waiting and supporting each other to prevent this from becoming an epidemic and a crisis. And I'm excited about what Sunand's going to be doing for the international students, and hopefully we can be a model for other countries to be able to use down the line to prevent suicides happening as much as they've been happening with their international students.
We have formed an organization called Suno, which is several people involved in this movement, and we want to help international students. We want to get a place for these students to call, so we can listen to them, to help them through various organizational means. And that's something we're here to set up, and we want to share this story with everyone. So we want to make sure the students know where they can call if they need help. And that's why we're coming together, to help them. A while ago I did a funeral for a young Indian boy. He was 14 years old. He committed suicide. It was such a difficult time for everyone, not only for the family, but our staff alone at Lotus Funeral. And I remember in the room, the parents were in a room with their child, and they were dressing their child for one last time before the funeral. It was just such a terrible situation to be there, to watch this, to be part of that. If there's something that can be done to help children to stop committing suicide, then we need to get involved and try to find that thing that can help these students stop it. Because nobody should be going through this situation. These children's lives are cut short, and it's not right. We need to do something.
Suno means, basically it's a healing platform, in my opinion. The reason why we started Suno was actually because we wanted to create a platform, or you can call it a tonic, that actually appeals and alleviates the problems with mental depression, and especially related to the mind, body, soul, spirit. I had a classmate, actually two classmates, who I said were victims of mental illness, and they could not manage what it was and went and committed suicide. Now, the question arises, was there a support system for them? And there was no support system that actually could have saved them from taking that step. So in that context, Suno will be that support system. And I go back to saying that it will be a healing platform, but it will definitely be a support system that families tend to actually offer to their siblings or to the kids as such.
It's a powerful video. So IMEC is happy to support this important work. On each table, you will find these donation forms, folks. And again, as Vipul said, nobody's going to pressure you. You do what you need to do, and you know what you need to do. So 100% of these funds will go to Suno Canada. And the charitable tax receipt will be provided by their partner organization, Punjabi Community Health Services. They do great work. So I leave it to you. Open your hearts, open your wallets. It's time of giving. With all the wonderful auspicious celebrations that come up, Diwali is coming up, Guru Purab is coming up. I leave it to you. Do what you can. All right, let's begin the first session for the day. And by the way, once you fill this out, just leave it at your tables. We'll come and collect it. And then we can let you know how much you raised for this great cause. All right, the first session of the day. Economic impact of international students in Canada. I'd like to invite Prashant Srivastava. Let me just tell you a little bit about him. He'll be our first speaker. Prashant is the Director of Business Development at Seneca Polytechnic, where he leads student recruitment, partnerships, and business development activities from South Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa. In his previous roles, Prashant has worked for the University of California, New York Institute of Technology, and Vancouver Island University. He has worked closely with Indian and Canadian governments in organizing international training programs for Indian civil servants in Canada, and has participated in trade missions led by Government of Canada, Government of Ontario, and the Government of British Columbia. Please welcome Prashant.
Thank you so much, Jack, for the kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure here today to talk and speak about a topic which is close to my heart, economic impact of international students in Canada. We spoke in the address by Vipul and also introduction by Jack that how much international students are valued, as well as means there are challenges surrounding to it. But then, you know, like my topic today here is to talk about economic impact of international students in Canada. So I will cover the following. I will go over with why international students study abroad, and then there are different type of international students, international education in Canada in general, international students, where they come from, where they go within Canada, also some trends on international student enrollment, as well as within the provinces, which provinces they choose to study within Ontario, which colleges, and a large number of them, they are in colleges, so I will go over that information as well. Then talk briefly about the economic impact. Also in Ontario, we have several public-private partnerships, and across Canada, there are international campuses. Then, of course, as spoken earlier, that students from India outpace Ontario government in funding, so a brief about that. And then as well, international students, how they are as a source of labor supply, as well as they become Canadian immigrants. So it's a dual benefit to Canada. Not only they come for study, they work in Canada, and also then they become Canadian immigrants. In the brief, I will end with the educational, business, and socio-culture impact of international students. So when we talk about international students, it's also important to understand definition, what international student means. It is an individual who will cross the border from their home countries with an objective for an educational activity in the destination country. So that is, in a broader way, what defines international students according to UNESCO. And then there are several reasons why international students would study abroad, and this relates to different type of international students coming from different countries. Especially from India, there is a stiff competition to get into education in top-tier institution. Then there are certain reservations. So it becomes very competitive for students to get seats in good quality and tier 1 institutions. And as well, many students, they would come to seek employment prospects as well, because many countries provide students opportunities to work. For instance, Canada has postgraduate work permit opportunity. As well as there are more academic choices. In certain education system, there are not many choices available, but when it comes to international education, students can make their own choices and select their courses. In many countries, it is also about the social recognition, that it recognizes their social status if their kids and their friends and family, they're studying abroad, as well as work and immigration opportunity. Family reunification is another reason why international students study abroad. As you know, we are in Brampton, which has huge connection and affinity with India, with the state of Punjab. So it becomes sometimes natural choice for international students from those countries, those cities, to seek education abroad. One important aspect for many students is the quality of life. When they look into a country like Canada or the US, they look into the quality of life as well, and that also gives them an interest to study abroad. And of course, global exposure. Many students, they just want global exposure, and they would go back. So in overall, like, quality of higher education is one of the key factors why international students, they come to developed countries like Canada to study abroad. International exposure, postgraduate work opportunity, again, immigration, as well as young age population. So it becomes more like an import-export business if we look into the demographic dividend for a country like India, which has a young population, and Canada, which has a medium age of 41, that Canada needs more younger people to come. So those countries like India, China, Asian countries, where there is a demographic dividend, they are supplying those students to study in Canada. And when we define international students, it's also important to understand not all students are the same. They have different level of motivation, different level of interest to study abroad. So according to World Educational Services, a research was conducted, and in that they had categorized students into 4 different categories, depending on their academic preparation and financial resources, into explorers, high flyers, strugglers, and strivers. So depending on the need and also the type of students, they end up into different categories. For example, strivers would be the one with high academic preparations and low financial resources. Strugglers would be the one who would have low academic preparations and low financial resources also to study abroad. Explorers would be the one who would have low academic preparations but high financial resources. High flyers is another segment of students which would have high academic preparation and they will have high financial resources also to study abroad, because international education, it comes with a cost, with a price as well. So when we talk about international education in Canada, why higher education institutions, post-secondary institutions, they are recruiting international students? They are recruiting them for promoting their brand, because one of the promotions is around brand, that if you have more international students from different countries, it becomes a selling feature. Also, it enhances the quality of education, because international students would bring the diverse perspective in the classroom as well. And of course, there is an interest to generate revenues as well, because international students are paying a higher tuition. Also, the demographic trends, which I just spoke about, that the median age of Canada and also the aging population, that drives also the Canadian institutions to recruit more young international students. However, in Canada, when you go historically, in 1960s, international education was looked into more on the humanitarian cause or a developmental aid through CEDA programs rather than an economic activity. But gradually, over the period of time, these 4 points become the feature and the reasons why international students are being recruited by post-secondary institutions. Now, international students, they come from different countries. This map here, it depicts the sender countries who are supplying international students to Canada. In this, you will see that almost 40% of international students in Canada, they are from India, and then around 12% from China. But these trends are changing over the period of time. Like prior to 2000, it was not the same. China was the major sender country. So demographic trends have changed, but as of today, according to the data, in 2022, we had over 800,000 international students in Canada studying at all levels. 40% of them study permits were given to students from India, and this number had quadrupled since 2019. Plus, interesting fact is also majority of these students from India, they are attending colleges and polytechnics. So where do these students go when they come? A large number of them, as you see, more than 50% of them, they are in the province of Ontario, then British Columbia, Quebec, and then spread out across different provinces in Canada. Now, when we see these trends of international students when they are in Canada, we see that large number of Indian students, they are in program which is called postgraduate certificate or college graduate certificate program. So Indian students, they tend to make up a higher chunk of segment in this categories. Almost 53% of Indian students, they are enrolled in graduate programs in 2019, according to the data, and this was up by 2014. In 2014, it was 15%. In 2019, it increased to 53%. So you can see that how popular these programs became. It attracted so many international students. And again, Canadian government's policies, which are with the Canadian experience class, different immigration policies, they were one of the key factors why these students, they started choosing colleges more over universities, especially from India. So this data is about number of study permit holders between 2000 to 2022. You can see the trend that how it has changed from 2015. So 2015, around 2010 to 2015, there was a time when new policy measures were introduced by the Canadian government, which fast-tracked the visa process. For example, in India, it was called Student Partner Program. Later on, that program was rolled to China, Vietnam, and other countries, and now that program is called SDS, Student Direct Stream Program. So Canadian government policy measures at the federal level and also the policy changes have impacted international students coming to Canada with the faster visa process also happening. In fact, in 2014, Canadian government launched its international education strategy with doubling the number of international students by 2022, but because of those aggressive policy measures, that number was achieved in 2017 itself. So now the challenge with the Canadian government is to diversify these students because as you saw in the first slide, large number of students are coming from India. So now the new policy is about the diversification, that how students can be diversified from different countries coming to Canada as well. In terms of educational level composition of international students, again, in this, we see that large number of them, they are enrolled in college programs, and this trend is changing after 2010. So after that, the Student Partner Program, SDS programs, they were launched, this trend changed, and then for students, the college program, which are non-university programs, they become very popular. Large number of students started choosing the diploma program, the graduate certificate programs, and also the simple certificate programs as well. In terms of international college students in province, because large number of students are coming to colleges, this trend also changed from 2010. And in fact, in Quebec, BC, Alberta, these are the provinces which have attracted a lot of college students, and 2/3 of them are in the province of Ontario. So Ontario is a recipient of large number of college students. However, there are provinces like Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, they are offering financial incentives for international students to be retained. For example, in the province of Saskatchewan, they are offering tuition fee rebate up to $20,000 for international students who will stay on and work in Saskatchewan. So there are measures in which students are being promoted by the Canadian provinces, by the colleges to be retained to study in Canada. In terms of international students in Ontario, around 85,000, according to 2020 data, 85,000 students were in the colleges, in Ontario colleges. 55% of them were in the large 5 colleges in GTA, but a large number of international students are enrolled in public career colleges as well, which forms public-private partnership as well. In terms of their financial impact, yes, it was spoken that they contribute to $22 billion, and actually it creates more than 180,000 full-time jobs. But as well, there is a tax revenue contribution of international students, which has increased year over year as well. So international students, because they work in Canada, they are paying taxes, so that contribution is also coming from international students as well. In terms of how colleges, universities, they are attracting international students, they have created certain campuses also dedicated for international students. In fact, 11 Ontario colleges, they have signed a partnership agreement with private career colleges to enable international students to get postgraduate work permit, and many of them, they have campuses in GTA. As well as many universities, they have established campuses for international students. For example, Simon Fraser University has Fraser International College in British Columbia. Then University of Manitoba has International College of Manitoba, as well as Toronto Metropolitan University has also started a college for international students. And again, this is because of the rising demand of international students, because large number of them are coming. They want to have them better prepared, as well as these bigger cities where they want to live as well. So it's about the demand and supply by these private public partnerships. Campuses are in GTA. And again, absolutely, it was mentioned that Indian students outpace Ontario government funding based on the recent data. So why it is so? It is actually because there is a funding cut by the government of Ontario for Ontario colleges. And actually, in fact, enrollment as well, like according to the Auditor General's report in 2021, Ontario public colleges witnessed a 15% drop in domestic enrollment. However, they experienced an increase of 342% increase in international enrollment in the same period. So you can see that why this data is there, that international students are contributing more than the Ontario government for Ontario colleges. However, when the system was established, when Ontario college system was established in 66 and 67, the funding was around 75%, but subsequently in 2019-2020, the government funding was less than 30%. And now in 2022-23, it's again further less. So there is a heavy reliance on Ontario colleges to recruit international students because of that reason as well. In terms of international students as labor supply and Canadian immigrant, because it's a dual benefit to Canada that the students are coming, they are paying their fees, they are contributing to the prosperity, they are contributing to the GDP of Canada, as well as they end up working as a labor supply to Canadian government need. And you may have seen recent policy changes in which Canadian government allowed international students to work full-time while studying, as well as the policy measures in which students are being encouraged to apply for permanent residency as well. In fact, federal government sees international students as a desirable source of immigrant without challenge of foreign credential and language, because they are being educated in the Canadian system and they are being then trained like as a Canadian when they enter in the workforce actually. So, in fact, the labor market report also says that it is a two-step selection process of economic immigrants. According to economic principles, economic category of immigrants who landed in 2020, about 67% of them have worked in Canada before getting immigrated. So who are these 67%? Majority of them, large number of them are international students. And this increase also was related to the programs like temporary foreign worker program and also introduction of the Canadian experience class by the federal government. So again, about why the international student would be the important source of labor. As I had mentioned earlier, they are contributing by paying taxes. In fact, according to the data, from 2000 to 2019, there's an increase of 50%. So there are more students who are paying taxes while working in Canada based on the T4 submissions. And again, the increase was also driven by at the college level from 7 to 60%. So college students, because they are in large number, they end up working and they're contributing in the society as well by paying taxes. So within the Ontario colleges, as I mentioned earlier, there was a 15% drop in domestic enrollment between 2012 to 2013 versus the increase of 342% between 2020 to 2021. And these are the students who are becoming a source of immigrant also for Canada. In fact, between 2008 and 2018, the number of new postgraduate work permit holders grew from 10,300 to 64,000. And again, large number of gains were from Indian students, those intending to work in Ontario. In 2019, according to this research report by Royal Bank, the Canadian Experience class and immigration pathway, which is designated for international student and foreign workers, accounted for 34% of new immigrant. So this is all as a source of immigrant, that they become a source of labor, then they become a source of immigrant. That's, I would say, is a value for international students economically, socially in Canada. In terms of their economic, business and socio-cultural impact, they bring the diverse perspective in the Canadian classroom. Students, they enhance the diversity of Canada and provide Canadian domestic students an international experience, because for Canadian students, they're not traveling abroad. The mobility of Canadian students, if you see globally, it is very less, and college students is less than 1%. So these international students, they are providing an international experience for Canadian students in the classroom, and again, enhancing the quality of education in Canada. So overall, like, I would say that international students contribute to the growth and innovation of Canadian businesses. Many of them, they start up their own business. We have students here in the room who have created their own business, and they are building a brain chain between their countries. So this way, I see that there is a positivity of international students in Canada, and they are impacting positively to the Canadian society and at all different walks of Canadian life. So with this, I will end my presentation, and if anyone has any questions, I will be happy to take it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to just take a seat over there, Prashant, that was just very, very informative, great insight. And to think that in the 60s, this was just a, let's be nice and let's help them. Now it's become like this huge revenue building, and some great, great facts. By the way, Prashant mentioned international students. If you're an international student, just would you stand up or just put your hand up? Look at that. Look at it. We're talking about you guys. Now, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, and thank you for contributing to your beautiful country, to our beautiful country. Our next speaker, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Maryam to come up here, and she'll do her presentation, then I'm going to have her sit down, then I'm going to invite Vipul to come up, and then we'll do a bit of a Q&A. Okay? And on your screen, which will come up very soon, you've got a little bio on them as I read about them as well. Okay, Maryam, yes. Sorry, sir. Oh, am I supposed to press a button? Oh, you're talking about a, come you do it, Vipul. Okay, while Vipul does that, Maryam Moshiri is the Executive Director of CIBC Alternate Solutions Group, ASG, CIBC Capital Markets. Maryam Moshiri has been with CIBC for over 10 years, leading multiple businesses, including the international student banking offer through CIBC and Simply, that support students with their GIC program account to meet the requirements of the Government of Canada's study permit application. She also leads the Global Payment Solution Program to help organizations facilitate incoming cross-border payments more efficiently. Within this mandate, Maryam manages sales, optimizes cost savings, along with enhancing revenue efficiencies across existing client programs. Ms. Moshiri has a degree in engineering from the University of Waterloo and an MBA from Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto. Please welcome Maryam Moshiri.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here with such a great group of minds in this room and with such an important topic. At CIBC, international students are a core focus for us, and I would say it's because what we're seeing in the economy and what Prashant really went in depth speaking about. Their impact is significant. When you think of what $22 billion does for the Canadian economy, it far surpasses what we do in exports for car, lumber, and aircraft out of Canada. So it is a huge value add, not only from economic growth, but also in the ability for us as a country to continue to attract top talent, attract great minds, and really grow in really three ways. The first is within the international student space, education space. When you think about the fact that we are recognized as global leaders for our universities and colleges, for the caliber of education we provide, that's on the back of our international students coming here as well to create that diversity, but also to help us continue to innovate and create new companies and products and services that are recognized globally. And you can see that if you look at the growth in the international student space and what Canada as a whole has done in the past 10 years, I don't think it's a coincidence that they align quite closely together. Secondly, on the diversity front, when you think about how it's so important to have a diverse set of group to think about new ideas, to think of new perspectives and ways to innovate problems we face globally, it really positions Canada more as a global force than it does as something that's more just, stuck within its own path and way here in Canada. And then the third, of course, which is so important for us too at the bank when we think about is, well, of course they contribute to the workforce not only while they're in school, but it's post-school where they make the biggest impact. Our team within CIBC has so many international students who've gone through that journey, who've joined us full-time, who make a huge impact not only being able to share innovative ways and processes to help us as a organization understand our client base, but also help us to innovate, to bring new services and products that help to make it easier for our community to bank. So what we do at CIBC is a few things in this space. So the biggest one and the one that's near and dear to me is the International Student Banking Offer. And that, of course, is where we partner with the Government of Canada through the SDS program that Prashant was mentioning. We support students from close to 100 countries around globally to be able to open a bank account in their name and pre-fund it before they get here. And our value add is not only the ability to open and pre-fund, but also give them a cost-effective solution to do that. So for students from India, for example, we allow them to pay in rupees, or we offer them that option, which makes it a lot easier for them. It's a local transfer. It gives them a competitive rate to be able to do the transfer of funds into their account here in Canada. Whereas, as students are considering every spend, every dollar counts, and we know we can help save in that aspect. Once they get here too, they get access to a network of banking centers through CIBC, where they're able to come in and get additional products and services. And through our diverse network, we're also able to help understand our students and educate them on the Canadian banking landscape versus what they may have seen or experienced back home. Because financial planning is so important, and understanding how they can make a difference every day in the decisions they make when they're spending money helps them to ensure they have a successful future here in Canada. We also offer our GSE program through CIBC's digital bank, Simply Financial. So it is our award-winning digital banking arm, which we've been proud to really grow over the past 4 years. Through that arm, we've even taken this one step further. Students can even do everything from their phone. So where they don't want to go into a banking center, they don't want to speak to anyone, they're able to pick up their phone, do their online validation all within a few seconds of taking a photo of themselves, a photo of their passport. They're able to get to Canada and activate with just downloading and registering for the Simply app, and then go upon their way to be able to leverage all of the products and services that we have. And education continues to be an important one, as I mentioned. So we continue to do webinars for students, whether they're abroad to learn about Canadian banking, or whether they get here and they're starting their first couple weeks and they're shocked to learn what a checking account means versus a savings account. We offer these programs online where they can join us on a webinar digitally for wherever they are in Canada and really ask their questions, meet the community of other students who've gone through the same things that they're going through, and be able to get that support that they need. In the international student space, we also offer another program which we have been running in partnership with our Canadian universities and colleges across Canada, and now we've expanded globally as well. Our international student pay covers the ability for students to pay their tuition globally to their school from across the country, across the world. So we've partnered with over 70 institutions in Canada, US, UK, and Australia to make it easier for students to do this. And again, really considering the fact that every dollar a student saves helps them through the process, and recognizing the burden that schools have to go through and being able to reconcile and process these payments, we've been able to develop a platform that makes it easier for both sides to simplify this process, because we understand if what we can do can help to streamline this process, it can help to continue to grow this whole diverse set of students coming in, which continues to attract top talent and helps to make us as economy grow, which is a huge factor and bonus for all of us in this room as we're all striving to really make a difference. So between those two programs, we've been very excited to see the pathway of how many students we've been able to help and hear their personal stories of growth and how they've come through the program. Interestingly enough, on the Simply Financial side, we've taken that one step further. We now offer multi-currency accounts for our students who've come here as well as anyone that banks with Simply, where they can get an Indian rupee account, they can get a US dollar account, a GDP account, anything they need, and they're able to transfer money between their accounts with no fee. So again, it makes it easier for a student who's come here who may not understand the differences between the banking systems, who may not understand all the costs they may be facing, for us to be able to step in and say we can help streamline and make that process as easy as possible. And we're happy to do that. So I think that's the end of my presentation. I'll give it back to you, Jack.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Maryam. Okay, I think I just press next. Oh, he'll do it. Okay, good, even better. Okay. Thank you very much to both of you. Great insight, great, wonderful stuff. I'd like to invite Vipul to come up here and lead us with the Q&A.
Thank you both, Prashant and Maryam and Jake as well. So we'll have a brief Q&A session before we move on to the next session. So I'll start with Prashant, 2 questions for you and 2 for you as well. First question, economic impact of international students is good for Canada overall, including for the education institutions themselves, but it's very tough on the students themselves, right? So what, according to you, are the institutions doing to ease up their burden and also probably save them from, let's say, fraudulent agents, etc.?
So thank you, Vipul. I think it's a burning topic and a very pertinent question. So what my again, advice is in this is to be transparent and to be accountable. And also it's the trust which builds between the educational institutions and the students and the agents also in the ecosystem, because there are good agents, there are bad agents also in the market. So for us, like as we operate in Seneca, like my colleague Naga and Arushi, they are here from Seneca, we operate in a very transparent way. We have a very, very ethical and transparent system for admitting students, vetting agents also, and in our recruitment practices, not anyone can just become an agent of Seneca. We have a screening process, we have a thorough checks on them, and then we have also started the compliance policy also for agents, that they have to go through a certification process, and we keep our checks and balance. I think this is very important. Secondly, for students and their parents and their families also, doing a proper research is important, that they should search the program and colleges, institutions based on their needs. It's like marriage. So when you have a proper matchmaking, it's a successful wedding also. So that was a role actually agents, I would say, they play in that. So the good agents, they would provide right advice to the students. They will provide the right tuition fee, what it is. Sometimes many agents may not be ethical in their practice, and they may say that you just go, you would work, and the grass on the other side is greener. But then there are some agents who will say that life is not easy, because nothing is easy in life. And also, to be an international student and to be successful in a foreign country, it requires a lot of effort. So definitely finance is there, which students should come prepared with, but they should also come with an aspiration and preparation that they have to work more hard to be successful. This is what I would say. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. So the second question is again also for you. Maybe I should ask you the next question. So already, I mean, I believe you addressed most of what I am going to ask you. But in any case, let me repeat the question again. So, what does the bank, CIBC, and Simply Financial do for international students in Canada before they come to Canada and once they are in Canada?
Definitely. So before they come to Canada, the focus for us is to make it as easy as possible for them to remit their money, whether it's to their school or to their bank account here. We really simplify that process for them. We have really easy to use online tools, an online application. We've streamlined it. We've made it really efficient and easy for them to be able to understand what they're putting in and what it means for them. On top of that, we've used a service, AI service that we've built that allows students to be able to validate who they are within 30 seconds. And I would say that's a huge value add to our students, particularly through Simply Financial, because it means they don't have to worry that anyone else is using their information or details to complete their application. It's them. We know it's them. We help them through that process, and it's not cumbersome or difficult. It really is just taking a selfie and taking a photo of their passport. So it's very, very efficient and simple for them from that perspective. The second thing we do is make it cost effective. So we know it can be very expensive remitting this money from abroad here. We know there can be international wire fees, high foreign exchange fees, things like that. So through both programs, we look to simplify that process, taking away as much as we can of those fees. So through our tuition platform, it's a no-fee service provided with low foreign exchange rates. On our GIC program, again, when they're paying in foreign currency, there's no program fee. And then for students, particularly from India, we offer a rupee solution, so they don't have to pay any international wire fees, and they're able to make that local transfer in India directly to their account here in Canada as seamlessly as possible. Once they get here, we also really appreciate the fact that it is a new country. They're going through such a huge milestone change in their life. And we help them in two ways. So through CIBC and our banking centers are equipped to walk students through what a checking account means, what's a savings account, what's a credit card, what does it mean when you sign up for a credit card, the benefit to building that credit history. And so our banking centers, across over 1,000 centers across Canada really help to step in to be able to do that for students. Just this past term, one of our centers out in Cambridge hosted over 150 students at their center as a meet and greet as well as education session for students. So it was so lovely to see students come out within that area to be able to ask questions, but also meet other students who are going through the process and learn what it means to have a bank account, how to ensure they're financially prepping for the future as well. And then on Simply Financial as well, we host online webinars once they get here. So we educate them on, they join the session, again, we walk through the different products and services and things like that as well for them.
Thank you for doing that. So before I ask you the next question, Prashant, a couple of people actually asked me that they have to go around 12 o'clock, just before the lunch. So just for them, we have locked the doors, nobody can go out before 4. And when we sold you the tickets, there was a catch. It's $300 to come in, $500 to go out. So up to you. So now the next question again for Prashant. You have been traveling to several countries actually regarding this international students segment for many, many years now, right? How many? 6, 7 countries now? 8?
Several.
Several countries, right? So compared to, let's say, 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and today, what difference do you see in those students in their respective countries, in terms of coming to Canada, awareness about the realities in Canada, how much do they know now, in terms of the interest also?
Yeah, means I would say that the interest is all-time high, and also it is because of Canadian government supportive immigration policy. And I said earlier in the slide also, not all students are the same. So students from India and some Asian countries, they are looking for opportunities to work and immigrate, but then there are some students from Middle Eastern countries who come on scholarship program. They would come with an intent to go back also. So not all international students would come and settle permanently. That is one. There are some students from some sending countries who come on the scholarship program. They would go back also to their home countries. So these are the two major, I would say, segments how we can separate. But in terms of awareness, there is a large awareness of Canadian educational programs, and it has grown, I would say, organically, because it's the student experience and the feedback which has gone back to their home countries about Canada being a safe country, welcoming country, and attracting newcomers. And in my own experience, actually, after also living in US, traveling, I would say Canada is one of the most friendly countries for immigrants. Thank you.
Okay. For Maryam, the second question is, what have been your experiences, maybe yourself or the bank experiences, rather, working with international students?
I would say personally, talking to them, it's amazing to hear their perseverance and drive to get here. I am myself an immigrant. My parents and myself moved here when I was little, and it takes a lot to do that. And when you see these students who are 17, 18 years old, have the initiative, have the drive, willing to take this big change in life, it's so amazing to see. So when you speak to them, you see that drive, you see that perseverance, you see that ambition, and that's something I recognize and value, and I think as a society we all value that. So I personally it's amazing to see that piece. The second piece we see, or I personally see from the bank, is the fact that we need to do a better job collectively as a community to educate and support. We all do so many things separately. So I know the schools do a lot of programs, the bank does programs, there's all these associations that do all these different things to help students independently. And I think we can all work better to create a unified approach to create that network and support so that they are set up for success while they're studying and also after they graduate.
Thank you. So we'll take a couple of questions from the audience, but I believe you have an important board meeting to go to. So if you can stay, you are more than welcome. If you have to leave, I leave it up to you. Okay, so anyone wants to ask any question to Prashant from the audience?
All right, yes.
Thank you for the opportunity. My question is for Maryam. Okay. My question is for you, Maryam. My name is Sharma. I run a not-for-profit organization called Brilliant Minds Group with these wonderful people. We started this organization about 3 years ago to support both the newcomers and international students. Now, because we are a not-for-profit organization and a self-funded organization, we reached out to many financial institutions asking for help, asking for support, because there was not much response. Then, about 3 months back, I reached back to them and said, we have now started our Indian operations. We have established India operations. Okay, we are launching it this week. Many financial institutions now reached back to me and said, hey, Dinesh, we want to partner with you because we want to get all these international students that are in India that you will be supporting we want to have kind of a relationship, or we want to have their money, GIC, whatever you call that. So when you talk about, yes, CIBC does a lot for the international students, why not post-arrival, when we as BMG said we are doing this a lot, nobody came forward. But when we say pre-arrival, so just that question.
I think every bank can do better. I don't think any bank is doing, we can all strive to do better. So when they get here as well, we do participate and we do get involved, and I think there's always more opportunities for us to do that. I would love to talk to you more. I have members of my team here as well. We'd love to talk to you more to see how we can work with you and help to further support your operations here as well. I think when you talk about pre-arrival, post-arrival, I think sometimes people get excited at the thought that when someone's doing pre-arrival, they can educate them more, they can help them through that process before they get here, so they are set up for success. But to your point, I think both are incredibly important. And the students that are here are the ones that need more support because they're going through that process once they've gotten here. So we can definitely work with you and see what else we can do to really help support what you're doing in your mandate and also help the students within the space.
Thank you very much. I have a question over here, sir.
Yeah, my name is Sandeep. Question for Prashant and other educational institutions that's here. We all know in Canada we have a housing crisis, right? Students actually come here without any knowledge about where they're going to live, what the rent is like, all that kind of stuff, information in terms of what is the colleges doing or universities doing to educate the students prior to coming to Canada. Because that's a crisis that's, we're talking about affordable housings, we're talking about condos that need to be built, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, the students, they rent a house from an Indian gentleman, 6 to 8 students living in one small house. This is not India.
So thank you, Sandeep, for your question. First of all, the housing crisis in Canada is not because of international students. I would like to start with this opening statement. Secondly, what we do as an educational institution, we do series of pre-departure orientation. In the pre-departure orientation, we orient students what are the housing options to choose from. Like, for example, the residence is there, then there are some portals through which, vetted portal by our college support services department, that students could go and find housing. So we do the bit from our end by doing the pre-departure orientation. We also work with our partners, agents also, to provide this information to students. And again, it goes with the preparation also. Many times students, they would do they would want things at the last minute. These things come with long-term preparation. So if you are a student from India or from any country, you would like to prepare in advance, book your housing, open the bank account like the services offered by the bank. So many times these services which are already available, students are not able to avail it while they are preparing for their study abroad journey. Because for them, at the time of those preparations, they are more into the visa preparation rather than the post-landing and what would be the way out for them. That is why it is more and more important for educational institutions to provide this support by doing pre-departure orientations, and also from the government side as well, that I think there is a responsibility by which these services should be informed to the students and they should have options to choose before they come. So preparation, I would say, is the most important part for students to consider when they are planning for their study abroad journey. And the housing, what you are saying, that one students live in the one room, they are living in multiple students living in one room. That is something, at times you could also see the choice which the student would have made. There are options which are available, provided by the educational institutions, and this all information is a public source. So it is about the preparation, and for them, for agents also to play a role and to tell them that this is the rent, this is the estimated rent. Like from Seneca point of view, we provide them the correct information, what would be the rent, because Toronto is not a cheap city to live. The cost of housing has increased, and we have seen that post-pandemic, because of inflation also, things have increased. So we try to tell our students also in that angle that this is exactly what is going to cost. So I would say that the preparation and also research, proper research is needed from the student and as well to avoid these crisis type situations? Thank you.
You know, I'm imagining I'm in India, and let's say my daughter is going to another country. I would give her as much advice as I can. You know, make sure you do this, make sure that, you know, watch out for this. And I don't know because my kids are here, but you know, I think it's incumbent upon agents or schools or whoever to tell them about some of the challenges and give them some warnings that you are going to get these folks who are going to say, listen, if you can't afford this, don't worry, you know, I'll take care of you. Or, you know, you're going to be living in a house with 21. I know a family, 21 people live in this house, students. Isn't that's incredible? I mean, so that's the stuff that, you know, if we start from back there, and if we're going to build leaders, if we're going to build Canadians of the future, I think it's incumbent upon all of us to have that relationship right from the get-go. Sorry, enough about. Sir, you have a question.
Yeah. Thank you, Jack. You're doing a masterful job, actually.
So yeah, sorry, we have about 8 minutes, so we can take 2, maybe 3 questions max, brief questions.
Thanks, people. My name is Bashir Fancy. I won't go into my background, but the question I have is that we heard a lot of interesting things, and I'm glad the issue was popped up because a week ago at a global economic forum downtown where 4 of the federal ministers were there, they talked about it and actually gave some statistics confirmed and talked by Victor Dodig, who is the CEO of CIBC. I got a chance to discuss some of the stuff with them, but bottom line, the question is that while we are getting a lot of students here, we are also losing quite a lot of them leaving this country after a certain period, and that is a very big problem. I know we're talking about, there's very good marketing around this, which is fantastic, but the hand-holding, as I think, I'm really glad Jack talked about it, I haven't seen that happening, okay? Which means all the way through, like if you talk in terms of technology, you're talking about the life cycle of a transaction, I don't see that. And yesterday I was with one of the universities or colleges last evening, and we discussed this issue. So the question is, A, are you seeing this, and what can we do? Because the issue about housing is certainly playing into it, because that was talked about. So there are a few other things, because if the corporate world is not going to create jobs or have jobs for what we are training, so is there a breakdown? This is my question, actually. Is there a breakdown between the colleges and the corporate world that we're not preparing them for the jobs that are coming up? What is the problem?
Who should answer? Anyone?
So what I would say is that it's on all of us. So I don't think it's just on the schools, and I don't think it's just on the corporations. In Canada, one of the biggest things that I appreciate is that you see someone having a difficult time, you lend a hand. And it's that community build that's super important. And that goes back to the fact that I think every institution, every corporation, every bank is doing something, but we're all siloed. If we can unify an approach and every single individual can take a lending hand, it'll make a big difference.
Thank you. We have a question. I think I have one over here and I think one over there, and I think we'll probably wrap it up then.
2.
Yeah. Thank you, boss.
Yeah, hey, my question is for Prashant. This is Devinder. Prashant, you did a beautiful presentation across. My question is, do you have a further stat in terms of which are the areas which these students are coming in? And what are the areas or the streams where we can see in the future the students would be more willing to come across?
So generally, means that data was not there in the slide, but then there are certain recent research reports which say that business, tourism, computer sciences, these are one of the popular programs. And actually, when you look into the college programs in the Ontario colleges, the programs are designed in consultation with the industry stakeholders, considering the labor market report. So those are the programs which you would see that in cybersecurity, in software development, these are the programs which colleges are also answering as a need. Artificial intelligence is another area. So these are the areas in which the programs are being agile, they are being changed also, and the curriculum is also developed in consultation with industry stakeholders. So I would say that colleges, polytechnics, their offerings are aligned to the industry needs. And I think that would be the trend to watch. Also, in terms of changes, yes, changes are happening in the job market, as the gentleman mentioned. So I think that would be the time to see that how that change would impact with the new technologies, with the job of the futures as well, how we will shape our programs in Ontario. Thank you.
I have one final question here. Thank you.
Hi. Actually, it's more of a comment and maybe a question. Stephanie Barham, the Director of International at Georgian College. Really happy to be here. I think one of the things that I constantly feel is there's a disconnect, and I think Prashant, you'll probably agree, is how the study permit system is designed versus what is actually the student's intention when they come here. And I want to speak to the financial aspect of this. I think one of the biggest disconnects, there are many, but when an international student is preparing to apply to Canada, one of the biggest things they have to demonstrate is they have the financial capacity to live in Canada unassisted. And yet, we know that that's not true. And so I think for me, I've been in this industry for over 10 years, and many of my colleagues would agree that, and we are working with our advocacy bodies to work with Global Affairs and IRCC to bridge some of these vast disconnects over what the intention of study is for. And so we look at that. I think one of the biggest disconnects, again, is the study issues. We know that students come here and do not have the finances to sustain themselves in Canada. So we look to what happens with our postgraduate work permit and how right now, the authorized hours don't even scratch the surface to pay for their studies. So there's that area. And I think the other area is the disconnect between labor. Because as you're saying, college programs are by design reactive to the labor market. We cannot, as a college, you cannot have a program approved if it does not have program advisory or labor industry. That's different from universities. So you think international students should be filling those labor gaps. But again, the study permit, when they attest to applying, they have to say they're not staying in Canada. So how can we openly connect those two to say, we bring students in, we have a lot of conversation about students being our labor force and staying in Canada to immigrate, yet in their statement of intent, when they apply for a study permit, they must say they don't plan on returning, on staying. So these are some huge issues that we need to tackle to really share the reality of what international students are for us in Canada, who they want to become, and ensure that what we do before they arrive reflects that. So that's just a sort of a comment that I want to make, because I feel that that's constantly a symptom of how we got here today with how students are unprepared. So that's a comment.
So I will just add to this. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for your remarks and comments. I will go back to the type of international students. So there are strugglers, there are strivers, there are high flyers. So it also goes with our recruitment practices, what type of students we are bringing to Canada. And when you said about the study permit, it's absolutely correct that with the study permit, we see that this trend that many students honestly, like we have also seen that the reports coming out in the newspapers also, there are students who may not even get admission, I would say, in universities in India, but they are on a study permit in Canada. So those are the big challenges, and it goes with our practices, whom we are recruiting and bringing, and how they are being complied in partnership with the agents who are screening them to send them to Canada. I think from colleges and universities' point of view, we also should look into certain practices where we develop a direct relationship with educational institutions abroad and develop a pathway where we get more well-prepared students. Thank you.
Great. Wow. What great information. Thank you very much to Maryam and Prashant. Thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it. Maryam, you talk about, when students come opening up a bank account and all that, understanding checking. I told my daughter, Sonia, I said, honey, you're now at that age, you should open a bank. And she goes, why? I got yours. So there you go. But she's back there actually helping with Sage. Listen, we'd like a group picture, if that's okay with you. And then I'll like to invite the next our next panel. It's just wonderful information. And you know, if we just treat all our students, international students and students here, even not just the money is exciting, but I think just as good humans, and have that relationship right at the get-go is awesome. Again, thank you very much to both of you. Very just incredible insight, great knowledge. Our next group of speakers, if I can please invite them up. So I'm going to invite them up. They'll come grab a seat here, and then one by one they'll come up and do their presentation, and then once again Vipul will come up and we'll do the Q&A. So, I'd like to invite Sunand Sharma, Erwin Rigo, Kamal Bhardwaj, Anushka Saxena, Nagina Permar. If they could please come up, that'd be great. All right, first up is Sunand. I've known Sunand for a number of years. I love the work that he does at Sheridan College. He's the Associate Dean of Community Citizenship, Leadership, and Engagement at Sheridan College. His portfolio includes off-campus student housing, Student Rights and Responsibilities Office, Student Leadership Development, first-year experience, Sheridan's Peer Mentor Program, and basic needs support. He has all that on his business card. He holds an honors degree in criminal justice. How the heck he got into doing what he's doing is beyond me, but and public policy with a minor in sociology from the University of Guelph and a master's degree in leadership from Royal Roads University. Sunand is passionate about improving the lives of students and is dedicated to influencing change on both policy and individual levels. Please welcome our first speaker, Mr. Sunand Sharma.
Thank you, sir. Just 2 seconds while I bring up the presentation here. While we work on the tech, how's everyone doing? We're a little bit quiet. Make some noise. Isn't this a beautiful day? I'm happy we have some brilliant folks and like-minded individuals here to talk about this important topic. We're going to fire up this presentation, and thank you to this gentleman. How about a round of applause for him? It won't be the last time he'll be up here, let me tell you. All right, so my name is Sunand Sharma, as Jake had previously mentioned, and presentation is up. We're good? All right, great. And as I mentioned, I've had the opportunity to work at Sheridan College for over 15 years. And when I look at Prashant's slide, which shows the growth in international enrollment, I've had firsthand experience supporting students over the last decade and a half and have seen this growth. And with this growth has come more challenges, more complexity to the challenges that our students face. Problems and the challenges are becoming awfully too frequent. They're becoming awfully too common. And we'll hear about a number of them from our panels here and some of the ones that actually end in some of the most horrific situations. But I'm going to focus on some of the more frequent things that we see affecting our students at Sheridan College. Many of you in the room had the opportunity to attend the International Student Summit that was co-hosted by the City of Brampton and Sheridan College. These problems were becoming awfully too common, and it was very important that we brought together individuals to help understand and define what the problem was. So in the summer of 2022, we had approximately 300 delegates in person, including our international students from many schools, as well as many of you here who helped us work towards defining what the problem actually was and working towards drafting an international charter that will set the standard for how we support our students. I bring that up because the voice of many international students was shared at that event. And we were able to tabulate what the challenges are, and there's a multitude of them. When you take a look at this slide, you'll see that the challenges are many. We heard about false expectations of learners when they have to leave their home. We heard about thinking that jobs and housing are abundant. We've heard many dilemmas in terms of the recruitment journey. We learned that many of these problems are actually start at home, whether it's the pressures that they're receiving. When I was doing this presentation, I have to be honest, I was thinking about my father who came here in 1970. He came here in his 30s. And the only reason I'm up here on this stage is because of what he did to persevere, to be able to create a life for the next generation. Can you imagine that burden on top of 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds? To come here and think about creating a future generation? The pressure is immense. We learned that some of these challenges started before even getting here. Lack of preparation. I love the comment in the back about what happens when the money runs out. We know the GIC doesn't even often support funds at home. What happens in year 2 when that GIC runs out? We learned that challenges related to academics and the things that are happening at college are abundant. But also, there are significant challenges when you exit post-secondary with gaps in services and supports. I'm going to focus on the ones on the right-hand column today because that's, as per Mr. Deere's bio for me, these are the ones that fall within my direct purview, and I just want to share some of the things that we're doing. I do have to recognize that I know there's approximately 6 or 7 academic institutions here, and I know you're all doing great work. I just have the privilege to share what we're doing on behalf of Sheridan with the hopes that you're inspired, with the hopes that you learn something new or we learn something new from you to help this extremely important population, which is our international students. So looking at the challenges on the right-hand side, thank you, housing. Housing. Apparently international students are responsible for the housing crisis in Canada, right? The lack of development over the several decades has nothing to do with it, but we'll put that aside. When we look at vacancy and affordability in the GTA, our campuses are in the most expensive cities to live in the country with the lowest vacancy rates. We're finding that pressure in Brampton. Many of the other institutions that were listed on Prashant's slide are also in the GTA, and we're finding difficulty. I see some of our beautiful social services over at that table. We're getting a drain in terms of the amount of students who are actually leveraging their supports external, as well as a drain on housing. So as I mentioned, vacancy rate and affordability is impossible. I was just saying to my colleague over there, I don't know if I didn't have my parents, how I would be even able to afford a house, let alone these kids who are looking to settle in Canada. When we look at housing, there's other challenges. How do you secure a home before you even get here? How do you expose your finances to exploitation by sending money over thinking you have a safe bed that never even existed? How do you get here and find a great place and the landlord says, do you have Canadian banking? And they say, no, I've been here 1 hour. Do you have a Canadian cosigner? No. Do you have any other guarantor in Canada? No. Bye. And what happens is that our students are often then rendered to live in some of the most deplorable, unsafe, and overcrowded situations. I'm extremely proud of what we've done in housing, and I'm excited to show you some of the things we're doing, including a pilot to be the first in Canada to launch a master leasing pilot. Very quickly, some of the other challenges is a sense of belonging. Our students feel isolated from this community, and we know that lack of integration will only impact their mental health if they don't feel they belong. As things go on, financial stress, employment, it's a vicious circle in my eyes. I work to go to school, but then when I work too much, it impacts my school, and then I gotta work more. Where does the circle ever end? And we know, and many of our colleagues here will speak about the impact on mental health and some of the worst situations. I think it's extremely important that we acknowledge the stresses that come before, the challenges that present themselves here, and understand how that all contributes often to an impact on young people's wellness. As I mentioned, these are the ones that I want to focus on, and I do want to make sure I'm leaving time for my colleagues, so I'm going to skip over this and just jump into it. These are the 5 main areas that I'm going to focus on because this is what we felt was in our sphere of influence and where we could make immediate differences to our students, for our students. First and foremost, there's a challenge with grasping the academic system. What do you mean we can't study together? What do you mean I have 2 different email systems? What do you mean this is how I learn in the classroom? What do you mean I'm allowed to address my faculty member by their name? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? We know that the academic challenges are too many. And one international student said to me, I was the top of my class in India. When I came here, I was at the bottom of my class by the end of the first class. Heartbreaking? I think so. I'm proud to say that Sheridan was a pioneer in 2014 to do pre-departure visits. A little bit of a plug. I know we're all doing them now. But we were the pioneer to do that in 2014. And now all institutions take the opportunity. There's a beautiful picture there. We also take international students with us so that they can speak to the real life story of the difficulty and the perseverance that's actually required to succeed in Canada. And we have other supports such as at the airport welcome desk, which I know many of our colleagues do. Our support for academic prep for our students starts 14 weeks prior to their arrival. We are supporting them finding housing 14 weeks prior to their arrival. We're doing multilingual sessions in many time zones in many countries to help our students come and be successful for the primary reason they're here, and that is to succeed academically. But what we know is that there's other challenges. Basic needs are a precursor for learning. So I put that there. If we all think back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, before we start to think about how a student can be successful in the classroom, if they don't have a warm bed, a safe place, or a full belly, guess what? They're not performing in the classroom. And that is where we at Sheridan have directed a lot of our attention. We have done a lot in the student housing realm, and I encourage the other post-secondary institutions I'd love to have a conversation to see how you can also generate safe beds in the communities we share in GTA. Our on-campus residents, we've converted several floors to turn rooms into quad suites. Quad suites are affordable and reduces the price to bring more affordable, safe beds on campus. Seems simple, but it's quite a retrofit to change electricity, plumbing, HVAC, so on and so forth, to be able to now house 24 additional affordable suites on our campus. But I'm more proud of the work we're doing off campus, knowing that the bulk of international students choose to live off campus because they want to be with community and like individuals. We have invested in 2 off-campus housing coordinators. Give us a wave over there. One was our valedictorian, an international student, quite intelligent. So how do we leverage her insight to help develop the programs, the resources that we have? We've now hired 2 international coordinators who are doing one-on-one visits, pre-departure, on arrival, and when students are transitioning out. We've launched and landed 4 or 5 partnerships. Our partnerships are generating approximately 1,100 to 1,200 safe beds each year in our communities. We are about to launch the first of its kind in Canada, which is a master leasing pilot, where we will be securing full homes, furnishing them, retrofitting them for our students to have affordable, safe places to rest their head. We do many other things in terms of creating resources, ensuring that our students get communication often and early, because housing isn't a joke here, friends. I remember 10 years ago, a student showed up with his luggage, and it was Labor Day weekend when he showed. And on Monday, he said, "Sir, I thought housing was abundant. I could just walk up. I slept in a park on my first day here because I was unprepared, and the college was closed." We're making sure that doesn't happen with our support at the airport, with our support when the students arrive. Moving past student housing, as I mentioned, basic needs is extremely important. We're proud to say that we have supported our students with access to both food and winter clothing. Over the last 2 years, our student government, so first of all, we've created a structure that helps identify food insecurity, whether that's at a nurse, a doctor, whatever the entry point is at the college, it funnels down to a few programs that address food insecurity. We have a student government program here who has given over $180,000 in $50 grocery gift cards when a student identifies food insecurity. We thank them for that contribution, but they also recognize the importance of food, success, wellness. We've also partnered with Sidon Food Bank here in Etobicoke, or close by in Etobicoke, last year to bring a food bank on campus in which we're giving 8 weeks supply of culturally appropriate, non-perishable food to students. And last year alone, we did over 75,000 pounds on our campus to over 2,500 international students. Again, full belly, healthy body, healthy mind, helping them succeed. And if students need winter coats, we have those for them as well. Just going to gloss over this one very quickly, but finances and employment are extremely important. And last year, Sheridan provided over $10 million to 8,600 students through entrance scholarships. And many of our schools are doing this as well, but I just put this there to know that we are providing scholarships for our students which range from $500 to $2,000. But I really want to focus on that bottom portion. One of the changes I've seen over the years is that on-campus positions were traditionally reserved for domestic students, whether the funding came from tuition set-aside funding or when it came from something. What we've made a commitment to do is that any on-campus job will be reflective of our student population. So if your population is 80-20, 70-30, or in our case, less than 50%, 50-50, we are ensuring all student leader positions on campus are reflective of our student population. Meaning I got 100 jobs, 50 to international students, 50 to domestic students, if that is what our population is. I think this one, and I had mentioned this to some colleagues before, but I ask you all to remember this organization at the bottom there, which is called the Pardesi Project. And for those of you who don't know what Pardesi means foreigner. We know that mental health literacy amongst our community is quite low. My brother has some challenges which my mother still believes is a result of her karma or something she did in her past life, not understanding that mental health is a real medical condition just like cancer or heart disease. We have very low mental health literacy amongst our students and amongst our community. What we've done is worked with the Center for Innovation in Campus Mental Health and a local grassroots organization called Soch Mental Health. Soch means to think. We've created a series of videos that address mental health and start to do it in a culturally appropriate and linguistic way. We created this for the system, meaning none of this is proprietary. When it comes to helping students, it's not proprietary. These videos are open for every one of you to share with your students or your young people, and they're available in Urdu, Hindi, and Punjabi. I'm going to be very quick as well. I think I've said that before, but I'm going to be quicker to just speak about what we're also doing. We're also ensuring that we have cultural and linguistic supports across health, counseling, nursing, housing, where we can deliver services and supports in multiple languages that are also culturally appropriate and ensure that we are able to offer supports through some of our 24/7 mental health programming. We've often seen the media articles that international students do this, and international students cars, and international students do this. What I tell you is that if we provide international students, I think our international students are great. And I think if we provide them an opportunity to show their greatness, that is our responsibility. Before, as an institution, what do we do? How do we get all this diverse programming? Ask the students. The students themselves will co-create and have with us co-created SEVA programs, volunteer programs, a Be a Good Neighbor program, which works on civic responsibilities so that when they leave Sheridan, they know how they can contribute to the society in which they're going to most likely remain a part of. And last but not least, some of these colleagues are in the room, and I thank you for all the work that you do. You've heard the old saying that it takes a village to raise a student, and we understand that. We appreciate the work of our partnerships and have really focused on strengthening partnerships in the community because of the specialized knowledge you have, because of the linguistic knowledge you have, because of the cultural knowledge you have. And it's very important that we know how to refer to you, but more importantly, you also know how to refer back to Sheridan because we have the full range of suites. And if you ever come across a Sheridan student, please know we want to support them, and I imagine our other academic colleagues feel the same way. My very last slide here is I thank you all for helping us, or for allowing me to share this with you today. I think supporting our international students, I leave you with a few thoughts. What more can we do? If you have a spare bed, consider calling a local academic institution near you to offer a safe and affordable bed to challenge this national housing crisis. If you are an organization who has an employment position, a co-op, an internship, a work-integrated learning, contact an academic institution close to you, because these are what we need to help our kids succeed. Last but not least, what are you doing to create a sense of belonging? How are you opening your doors and showing warmth to this important, vulnerable group who needs it? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sunand. I actually had a chance, my nephew is an international student, well he was, and he was at Sheridan. I had a chance to be part of that orientation, which was fabulous, and then we've hired a number of international students as well in my job, where I work, which is awesome as well. And I've been involved with Sheridan through many capacities, and it's terrific. And you know, when you talked about, you had that International Students Conference, or the summit, and I appreciated being a part of that conversation as well, which was great. So you can tell Sunand's very passionate about what he does, and I know all our speakers are as well. I'm looking forward to listening to them. The one thing I do ask, because Sunand took like 20 minutes, the rest of you only have 5. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. But if we could please keep the comments to maybe about 8 minutes or so, because I say 8, I know you'll take 10, so that's okay, but don't go over 10. So, but it's just, it's a good conversation. It's just really a good conversation. But I have to respect time as well, and then we do have lunch coming at 1 o'clock. So, all right. If I shut up, then I'll give you more time to speak, so I'll shut up. Next up, we have Dr. Nagina Parmar. Nagina Parmar, Dr. Parmar is a highly experienced educator and clinical researcher who has dedicated over 20 years to working in academia and healthcare settings. For the past 2 decades, she has been teaching biology, microbiology, life sciences for clinical practice and drug development courses at Toronto Metropolitan University, TMU. She is also an executive member of the TMU Research Ethics Board. As an adjunct faculty in the Department of Microbiology at CCS Haryana Agricultural University in India, she also provides guidance and supervision to master's and PhD students. Dr. Parmar holds a PhD in microbiology and has completed postdoc training at the University of Guelph, University of Waterloo, and the University of Toronto. She has authored over 30 journal articles, books, and reviews for various national and international journals. Wow. Dr. Nagina recently completed a master's in education at Ontario Tech University with a research focus on the internationalization of higher education in Canada. She continues to learn and learn and learn. Would you please welcome Dr. Nagina Parmar.
Thank you so much, Jack. I think you already set the bar high for me, so I have to be, make it up to the expectations, and I don't know where my slides are at this point. Someone can help me. And thank you, IMEC, for the opportunity, and I appreciate that. I'm so honored to be sharing this stage with all these great folks, and it's my pleasure to be here to represent the research I have done during my Master of Education study on exploring the perceptions of international student concerns in Canada. So this study is done at the Ontario Tech University, and this is my thesis. So like Jack said, I recently completed my master's, and more things to do, because I think there's more to learn, like Sunand said, and other speakers like Prashant has very well explored the challenges, and I think this is what I'm going to talk about right now. So, okay, so I guess the slides are up there. So, okay, perfect. So I think I might take more than 20 minutes, but I will try to make it more faster and expedite to give the chance and to learn from other folks as well. So I don't know what happened here. So in this presentation, I will just give you some trends and some statistics. I will not repeat some of the things that Prashant has already pointed it out, but I will take you through the how we did this research, what kind of results we got, what challenges these students are facing, and what kind of solutions we have for these students. So, of course, oh, I don't know what's happening here, sorry. It says we can't verify your, okay. So, yeah. Okay. All right, okay, thank you. So we'll just talk about a little bit about methodology, study results, and of course the support we offer through the, for the BMG. So what is internationalization? Of course, it is a multidimensional process that includes exchanges of faculty, involves trans-partnerships and linkages at the international level, and impacts the internal mobility of the students, and of course affects our academic programs and support research collaborations. So, of course, the number of international students has grown considerably worldwide in recent years, and Canada has led major Western countries in the rise of international students. And of course, the faster growth is in the inflow of international students, as mentioned by some of the speakers before. And the faster growth in the inflows of international students is likely related to both the changing reception environment in other major receiving countries, particularly in the United States, where the new admissions of post-secondary international students were declined by 23% between 2016 and 2019, and the concrete measures that were provided by the Canadian government and educational sector to attract international students. So I don't know what's happening here. Okay, so this is the table that actually shows that these students are originated from the top 5 countries. I don't know. Oh, great, thank you. It's always the technology issue. Perfect, okay. That's okay. Yeah, this was the, I think, table graph that was shown before. So this is the table that actually shows that these countries, these students actually originated from the top 5 countries, India, China, South Korea, Vietnam, and Brazil. Of those countries, India and China account for about 30% and 25% of the enrollment respectively. So of course, I think earlier Prashant shared the projection, and projection is was 753,000 when I did this study, and now I think he mentioned that there's about 800,000 students already are in Canada, and of course, Canadian government is working on increasing the inflow of international students, and of course, that might be changing because we are hearing some news that they might be putting the caps on the number of international students coming to this country. So what is the need for doing this study? So I don't know if any one of you know that I was also an international student who came to Canada as an immigrant, as well as I did my training at UFT and Waterloo. And back then there was no such thing as talking about coming to the conference, and then that was, I'm talking about in 1995, so you cannot calculate my age at this point. So I just wanted to mention that I'm so glad that this platform has been provided to talk about, have a meaningful discussions about the international students. So of course, the reasons for doing this study, of course, my own experiences and what the challenges are for the students, host country's culture, language, and weather, and of course, isolation, marginalization, and of course, mental health issues such as depression. And we don't know much about these challenges, and of course, most importantly, the discrimination faced by these international students. And of course, on the other hand, there are higher education challenges, such as adapting to claim that they understand student challenging environment. And during this study, I came to know these surprising results that's not true. And of course, the administrator support we have at those academic institutions is not good enough for these students. So of course, I think you have seen these news articles from major Canadian news media, and they picked up an angle on the perceived problem of international education. And of course, these are some of the major news articles that describe the problem. Dozens of students who could be kicked out, it happened more recently, and how Canada can fix this, predatory relationships, and international students can be enticed in Canada from their source countries to have promises of better jobs and immigration. So of course, the objective of this study was to address the unmet needs of the learning experience of IS, that means international students, and their perceptions and concerns during their stay in Canada, in Ontario, to understand the determinants of international students to study abroad within a push and pulls framework. So this is the one adopted from the Mazurel and Soter, who is actually working on these problems a lot, and I think there are push factors such as lack of quality education, increasing higher education competitiveness, and of course, geopolitical instability. And of course, there are pull factors, that is awareness of host country, reference to host country, and costing, environment, social links, and so on. So we did this study at two different universities, Ontario Tech University and Toronto Metropolitan, and registrars of these universities helped us send us the emails. There were about 5,000 students in those universities, and we were hoping to actually have 250 respond to our surveys. And of course, we wanted to have in-person interviews. So we wanted them to be about 18 years at least, and the inclusion criteria was the international students who are not permanent residents of Canada, and they should be enrolled in either OT or TMU, and they should be consented, because I'm part of the ethics board, so I always have to do everything ethically. And of course, students who have the PR status were not part of the study. So we did the consent, we did the online survey with them, we sent them the link, and of course, the participants who were contacted, and they were asked to, if they can be contacted for further personal interview. Of course, it was happen over the Zoom. So we collected these kind of demographics, age, gender, program, educational level, duration of their stay in Canada, and also we wanted to find out what kind of background they're coming from. What are their parents' educational levels, employment, family income, whether they are from rural areas or from urban areas. And we also asked these questions in the interview, that what are their motivations for studying abroad? What are the impact of COVID on their perceptions? What are the comparisons of their country's education from where they are coming from? And what their impact of demographics and background, if their father or their mother are educated, if it impacted their study here and the support here. And also we talked about their positive and negative study experience. So I will show you the results here. So we have about 46 responses and 49 from TMU. And we have about 38 and 40 from TMU and OT consented. And also we actually use their data to show you the studies. So these are survey responses. We have equal distribution of male and female. We have, at TMU, there was one or two people who had a different gender identity. And we also asked what their programs of study was. Most of them were from bachelor from both the universities. There were some from masters and PhDs. And also there were some that was doing some English language diploma programs in those universities. And we also asked them what their background is, where they're coming from. I think Prashant's slides can relate to that they are mostly from South Asia, Southeast Asia, and also some were from Latin America and Caribbean, and also there were some from North Africa and Eastern Europe. And age group was very interesting, but most of them, you can see 50% of them were aged from 18 to 21, very, very young. And some of them from 20 to 22, and you can see some were actually from 35 to 55, and I would say those were master's and PhD students that actually participated in our study. So we asked them about the push for factors, what led them come to Canada. They said lack of quality education in their source countries, geopolitical instabilities, and higher education competitiveness, and of course, economic uncertainty where they are coming from. And there are some important factors they would like to find out, such as quality, I think it was said before, costing, safety, they felt safe, and ability to work while studying. And not so important was friendly people and beautiful landscapes. So they did not like that. And we also asked how easy was the access to information on the websites of OT and TMU. They said they also find very easy some of the information such as English requirement, program availability, admission deadlines, places to live. But I think it was said before, there's a issue with the places to live, and of course financial assistance and scholarship, which is not offered to the international student. They are also available for the domestic students. And we also asked them what are their experiences as a student at their current institution. They said working in the classroom, because I'm an academic and educator, so that was my main concern, that my students are okay. And they were happy that interaction with professors is not very difficult, but they found that there are different teaching and learning environment. They were very difficult to involve in extracurricular activities because they were working, and it is hard to meet for some, meeting academic expectations, and also making friends with Canadians. And of course, the support, we asked them what kind of support, like academic support, personal support. They were happy with the support from institutions, but they were not happy with the support from Canadians in the community. So that was surprising. And their satisfaction, they were satisfied with teachers, facilities in their institutions, admissions, and they were dissatisfied with some of the lifestyles, housing, and current living conditions. So paperwork for Canada, they said, were time-consuming, complicated, and very, very hard. And I don't know if anyone actually here can relate to that. It is very hard, for sure. So they were asked, what do you want to do after finishing the academic programs? Most of them were unsure, and most of them also said they would like to stay in Canada, but they don't want to go further to the study. So I have been told my time is up, but there is we also shared some interview responses. So just quickly going to wrap it up, that most of them said that their quality of education, networking, also difference in education system and family support were positive experiences for them. But for the negative part, they are uncertainty about career prospects and mental health challenges. So of course, just kind of focusing on the introduction of BMG Group. Here we have, it's a not-profit organization, as mentioned by Mr. Sharma, that we were actually trying to work with the international students. I'm a student relation director for the BMG Group. And of course, based on that, we are, I don't know, it's not going further. So based on that, we're trying to work with international students, and we have TD mentorship program, and we have student ambassador program where students can come and join us and help the students as well by working with us. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope I was at good time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Parmar. Our next speaker is Anushka Saxena. She is a dedicated computer programming student. So she's not just a programming student, she's a dedicated computer programming student at Seneca College. She's actively involved with International Youth Canada as the media and events coordinator. Professionally, Anushka excels as a software designer and full stack developer. Beyond her coding skills, Anushka is a seasoned public speaker. All right, with over 5 years of experience. She is passionate about inspiring and guiding young minds in addressing crucial societal issues such as women's roles in society, gender equality, mental health awareness, sex education, and immigrant needs. Anushka had the honor of being a guest speaker at York University's Women's Day event, which deepened her dedication to fostering positive change. Please welcome Anushka.
First of all, I would like to thank Jack for such a nice introduction. It's a lot about me, and I think I should skip that part. So let this get set up, and then I want to represent International Youth Canada, which is a non-profit organization, and by the president, Jaren Raj. So due to some illness, he could not make to this big event, but as he trusted me and sent me to give a presentation for International Youth Canada in front of you all, so here I am, and I'll try to give my best to represent on his behalf. So as the motto of International Youth Canada is, to the student, by the student. So this non-profit organization is run by all the student leaders across Ontario from various colleges, like we have President from Seneca College, Akarshan Noor Singh over here. He's also a member of International Youth Canada. Similarly, we have Priyanka Gandhi from Brampton College, as well as we have Ayush Goyal from Seneca College too. There are several other people, other student leaders who are the part of this organization and help to come up with different solutions as well as the problem that their students and the members of their colleges are facing. So let me go through, first of all, not with my introduction because I think none can give my better introduction than Jack. So first of all, I just want to mention that I won't take a lot of time. I'll try to be on point because I know everybody's hungry and they just want to go and grab food so fast. So, as I already mentioned, that International Youth Canada is a non-profit organization driven by students. International Youth Canada is at the forefront of aiding immigrant students in their Canadian journey. Our dedicated team passionately work to create a supportive community for newcomers, as well as the people who are planning to come to Canada, work to create a supportive community because as being an international student, it was very tough when you don't have anybody in a new country. You can ask from anyone who's starting a session from scratch, knowing a country, knowing its weather, the education system, as well as the language, because language can also be a barrier. English is my second language. Hindi is, I'm native of India, I know Hindi very well. I can explain, I can say my things very well in a Hindi, of course. It happens with everyone. They can explain their feelings, their emotions in their own native language. But using other language and explaining themselves, telling what their views are, could be a bit of a tough situation. So this is what we do, that we gather students from different communities, from different languages, so they can set up, they can have communication with people in different languages and help them to come up with a new solution and help them to support them. Other than this, we do several events for the student, such as networking events for their mental health situation, where people, all the students who are not feeling well, they want to talk about it. So usually on our Instagram channel, what we do, we post some events as well as some documents and some form where students can fill and join our event directly. So here are some glimpses that I want to give it to you. The first is International Youth Summit. We have several other people over here and different colleges where students come up as well as different leaders comes up with different solutions as well as numerous talks and networking events so people can feel homely. They can feel accepted because no one can come directly and say, hello, this is me and I'm doing this, because it's tough to gather to people. But when you have a proper gathering, you can come up, you can talk, you can introduce yourself, and you can find some good friends too. Other than this, we also have different events like Chai with CG, the Consulate General of India in Toronto, where we discuss about the different issues, the problem, the students are facing with the student leaders, the president of different colleges in Ontario. Other than this, we also had a Women's Day celebration in York University. The student of York University informed about the eve teasing, about some kind of misbehavior happening out of their campus. So we called the police as well as some instructors to advise the student, to help the student, and to inform about their rights. Other than this, we also had the one of very best session, and this session is one of most important for me because I was also part of it, and we come up with so much like problems as well as the solution that student faced. So this is the second session. We have Chai with CG, the consulate journal, and here I'm addressing all the student concern. So I don't think like any other person can tell what a student is really feeling other than a student. I'm a student, it's been like a year in Canada, and I'm 19-year-old, I just came after my 12th, don't have a lot of knowledge about how to be in a college system, how to learn Canadian things, how to make friends, how to make groups, because I don't have anybody in this country. So finally, like International Youth gave me this opportunity to make good friends. They are like a kind of my family where I can discuss about my issues. Similarly, we all sat together, all the student leaders, and came up with these concerns as well as a bit of a solution, and I'm still seeking more solution that can implement it and can put more efforts to the life of the newcomers and the immigrants. So here are some challenges. The top listed is housing, as always, because I think everybody from the beginning of the session, we are talking about housing challenges. We know that there are a lot of things happening, people are not getting homes, so many students are living in one basement, but other than this, the one thing that we should focus is about the tenant protection. Students are not aware about their rights in Canada. Sometimes their landlords, they misguide them, they don't tell them the reality, and sometimes they just poke into the, it happens. Anybody, like if the students are there, they can agree to me that their landlords put a lot of rules on them, like nobody is allowed, you cannot go out at this time, and so many things happens. In this situation, a tenant can go under their protection, their rights, they can know about their rights, but just because, they're new in the country, they think if I say something to them, they just kick out me from their house, where I'll find another place. But because this happens because they are not aware of their rights. So one thing that we all came up with is like doing campaigns through social medias. Even colleges can do these kind of campaigns during their orientation sessions about the tenant protection. Other than this, we also hearing from the beginning of the session, the second most is student unemployment. So the best thing that could be done for the student unemployment is the 40 hours limit that happened, and which is going to end on 31st of December. And honestly speaking, there are several students who are very happy for that news, because a work that could be done by 2 or 3 students are now covered by 1 student because of the 40-hour shift limit. And this can be this is helpful for some student, but the student who came as they want to learn something, they want to study, and being in a college, you got a lot of assignments, quizzes, a lot of different things to be done, group team members, and projects. Doing 40-hour shift and doing these things simultaneously can never happen. I'm honestly saying, I'm a student, I'm still in my 4th semester, and like my last semester, I can tell you it's not possible managing both the things together. So a student who's seeking for like 20-hour shift, or maybe 10 hours just for their side income, they're not getting job, because it's easy to manage it's easy to manage 1 employee instead of 2 or 3. So this could become an impact about, I mentioned various things too, but I don't want to talk about all because I know it's not the right time because everybody's tired. So I'll just wrap up fast. Other than this, we also talk about agent-induced misguidance. We know, like back in India, I talked to several students, even I had talked with Prashant sir also, that agents are one of the most important factor while you're coming to Canada or while you're planning for any of the country, because you are not aware of that country. It's better to go on the website of colleges, look for what kind of courses they are giving, look on the overview. But instead of doing that, students just believe, okay, my agent gonna do that, give me any course and send to me Canada. That's all. In today's world, where technology is at its peak, still there are students who just trust on their agents and just like believe on the agent, send me to Canada, I will do work and that's it. This is somewhere increasing labor work. Indian student who is way too brilliant, it's way too brilliant because we are not allowed to use calculator in our mathematics exam. We all have to do it by our hands or by doing the rough pages. We are not allowed to use calculators. We are way too intelligent. Every time our parents just like beat us sometime for our education. So I don't think like Indian student coming here and being like working as a labor job is like a benefit. It could be they can just like make more things. So not trusting agents like this. So what we came up with, like there is Sinclair, former president, we talked to him, he came up with things like taking actions against these students. Like not even the students, against the agents. A student can come up to them, tell them about their concern, and then they will take like all the kind of actions that should be taken toward their agents. Other than this, one more issue that is tuition fees. So this happened even in Seneca, and we had a lot of trouble about this. Sometimes when we get the offer letter, it's written over there like a particular fee amount, and it may change. So when you just like getting into any school or getting into any college, a particular amount of fees that is given to you, you expected to pay like maybe that amount or maybe increase like $100, $200, but $600 to $1,200 could be a big thing because that is not even my bi-weekly salary from my part-time job. So if my college increased first semester fees for $600 and second semester's fees for $600, how I'm gonna pay that much? Am I gonna call my parents and say, Mom, Dad, I'm not able to afford this? Or what about the parents who are just like who send their student by doing a lot of sacrifices? What they gonna do? This could be a big thing. And these are some things which are leading international students toward depression, toward doubting themselves, toward thinking, how I'm going to tell my parents? How I'm going to take with these things? I'm planning I'll go to Canada, a dream country, doing jobs and helping my family. But sometimes it comes all to a vain because we don't know. So when we're talking about mental health of students, these are the things that are impacting them. Because I'm having conversation with so many students, and somewhere everybody is here to make their family proud. Everybody is here to make their future bright. But somewhere they all are facing these issues. Other than this, we have various different issues like, of course, the medical care, scholarship things, because the diploma student do not get any kind of a scholarship. I'm a 2-year diploma program student from Seneca College and getting 4 GPA in my 3 semester. Instead, I'm not able to apply for any of the scholarships because I'm not eligible for that. And that could be a bit of pain for me because I'm expecting more. I'm giving a lot to my college. I'm trying to study as much as I can. And still not getting any kind of a support could be bit painful thing. Other than this, we have like creating platform for international students and their voice, as well as mental health institutions to help a student about like they can come forward, they can talk about themselves. Similarly, International Youth Canada is a platform where students can come and talk about their issues. We plan different, as I show the meetings, the glimpse of the meetings, we can attend meetings with different consulate journal, different governors, the big leaders, so we can talk about all these issues. So this is one kind of a platform. Other than this, I just want to wrap up, and here is a student guide that is prepared by International Youth Canada. And in this student guide, as we say, it is to the student, by the student. So the students as well as the student organization prepared this. these guides, and I want my volunteers to just give up some of the guides. We are still working on it. So they're going to give you the guides. You can have a view, look into it, give us some feedback, because we are always seeking feedback. We want to give a student as much as we can. So you can look into those guides, and just please don't forget to return us, because we are still working on it. We are printing more and more. And later, this guide will be available free of cost to all the students in different colleges. At last, I want to thank Jerin sir, the President of International Youth Canada, a real person behind this face who worked toward the students, who worked toward immigration, who make me to stand here and represent. I'm also an international student, so I really thank him for this opportunity. And we are always open to join. We are always asking people to join us, to give us some help, come up with your views, give us a short video that we can represent students to show your support to them. And that's all about it. First of all, I just want to thank you all by joining on both my hands, because this is a very big thing. Time is very precious, and you all gave me your time. So thank you so much for this, and thank you for the board to listening.
Listening to Anushka, I don't need coffee anymore. Wonderful stuff. Sunand just gave his card to Anushka. Let's chat. That was very, very good. And I like that, students by students, because it's always good when you can have peer-to-peer engagement. I think that's really terrific. Some of the stuff you spoke about, my nephew has gone through a lot of that stuff. So, it's interesting. You got to really have a conversation about why students come here. And I think it's beyond just education. I think that conversation should also happen with parents and the realities and not just the dreams. But anyhow, enough about that. I want to now invite Erwin. Erwin Rigo is from Suno, Canada. He's the co-founder for Suno Canada, founder for L'Artre, and consultant for Punjabi Community Health Services. By the way, just a quick shout out. I saw Baldev Mutaji here. I don't know if he's still here. He's outside. He's the founder and the former CEO of Punjabi Community Health Services, in the space for 45 plus years. But back to Erwin. He's a consultant for PCHS, as well as media expert in branding, PR, events, and strategic positioning of niche companies. Erwin has worked with Hollywood and Bollywood celebrities across continents on high-profile brands and events, collaborated with ideas on Filmfare Awards and other corporate brand-building business ventures. He's in touch with and recently commended and admired by Bollywood icon Amitabh Bachchan for his thought-provoking writings and poems. He has a passion for composing old Hindi and English song medleys on his guitar and making lives better on the wellness front. Did you bring your guitar with you? No? After him, Suno Canada may bring a couple of students to speak, so please welcome Erwin.
Thank you. Now, I wish my mother-in-law heard this. Thank you very much for that introduction. Thank you, panel. We're going to make this short and sweet because I think I have my presentation here. I just want to start by saying that I belong... Can you just help me here? I belong to the Ken Robinson School of Education, where education is in the minds and souls and not in multiple questions, that's asked. So I am going to do something very different here. I'm going to actually show you something very visually fast. I don't have much graphs as such like this, but I do believe that we as human beings connect with the soul. So I believe that the soul is a very important part of it. And I will start with a famous quote by Leonard Cohen, who said, "There is a crack in everyone, and that's where the light sets in." And that was actually the inception of Suno. I'm going to talk a little bit of Suno and then talk about the challenges, because I do have a presentation on the challenges, and I've done a lot of research on this factor. The other one was Emerson, who said, if you have actually made one life to breathe better, you have succeeded. And coming back to Suno, you had this song saying, Suno kaho, kaha suna, kuch hua kya? Kuch bhi nahi hua. And that's what it is all about. It's like nothing has happened. Just to translate it, it is It's an old Hindi Bollywood song which says, Suno means listen and speak, and has anything happened? Nothing has happened. And this is the crux of the situation here we are seeing here right now in regard to the international students. So, having said that, we go back to say, what is Suno? We're all about students. Let's make it simple. We're all about students. For the students, by the students, with the students. We interact with them on a regular basis, and we actually make them present the case. So, why did this all happen? Was mystically and mysteriously, 3 people came together one day before the pandemic in 2018-19 to actually, with the same cause, everyone had this empathy of something happening. And this was obviously related to 2 friends that I lost way back in Bombay, but it also was someone that I saw here in Canada when I was at the funeral home. A young kid, and I like storytelling, so you'll have to listen to this. A young kid from Punjab, brilliant. I looked at his certificates, and it broke my heart that actually this kid had to commit suicide. And it was a series of reasons of why did this happen. So this was the trigger of what all this started with Suno. And Suno, if going from the brand perspective, because I'm a branding guy, Suno actually has sun in it. That's where the light sets in. That's where Leonard Cohen said, that's where the light sets in. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually an international non-profit entity focused on holistic, sustainable mental health and other unspoken solutions for international. It's very simple. We want to bridge the prevalent gap by creating a platform to enhance student growth and success. Now, the objective is to prevent suicides, depression, substance use, sex trafficking. By the way, a lot of cases like this are happening. It's swept under the carpet. Okay? Our aim is to work with the authorities and institutions to assist students towards wellness and success. Now, just some statistics to reflect on, and this is very important that you actually take a look at this. This is the breakdown of everyone settling down. So we have almost half of them settling down in Ontario, and they have quadrupled to almost a million students in 2022. 2011, there was in the International Education Forum and Strategy of Canada that we would actually have 450,000 by 2022. They have quadrupled. So that tells you that we have a lot of numbers in the country. And how is this working out? They're bringing in $22 billion to $25 billion, and about 220,000 jobs have created. Now, our objective here is to actually make some noise so that the wise men sitting in Ontario, in Ottawa, can actually wake up and smell the coffee. Because this is serious stuff. We have students really, really suffering. Now, there will be someone arguing or debating saying that, but there are students also pampered and they come with all this thing. And that's also right. But majority of the cases that we are seeing, we have a big issue with this. So this is what IRCC, the Immigration Research, and has observed, that they bring in new cultures, ideas, and competencies. They strengthen people-to-people ideas, so there's a cross-cultural competence and francophone communities, importing new ideas in our classrooms and society. So there is an added value here in terms of what we are doing. So this was done in 2018, and keep your minds on the yellow dots. What I did was, I was trying to actually understand the whole mind mapping of a student's journey as to from where they come and to, how they arrive. So this was, I sat with about 10, 20 students and I got this. These yellow dots are actually where the orientation does not take place. Fortunately, we have someone in India right now named Sukhdeep Singh, who actually is, talking to them and actually educating them about the upheavals, if I may call it, some of them, but the reality of what's happening here in Canada. So these yellow dots are very important because right now there's no orientation taking place. Canadian government and the Indian government are right now also working. If you may have seen some boards at the airport where stalls were put on to actually help students. So post, when they arrive in Canada, this is, again, the yellow dots of where exactly we need to actually educate them as to why it is important and what is important, especially with the housing issue, as they have all spoken about. Okay? I will actually, the challenges are plenty. I cannot tell you. I'm going to just a snapshot I'll give you. Education agents, scam institutions, high and unregulated tuition fees. The lady behind made a very valid point about tuition fees and they can't afford. But there is also a problem where tuition fees are actually in the first year told to the student, and in the next year it's suddenly exorbitantly raised to another level. So we are looking at a very complex issue. By the way, there is no elixir or magic bullet for this solution. It is a bespoke one-on-one cases that we have to actually resolve it. Sexual abuse, housing and landlords. Let me talk about landlords. I just talking to a student yesterday, and this poor girl lives in a basement, her friend, and all of a sudden, it seems the landlord invites 3 or 4 more members of the family to come in and join the girl and a roommate. And the issue is not that. They have rooms there in the basement. But the issue is that these guys go and take their food, take their items, and just actually go out and eat it. And these are the unspoken issues that are not actually highlighted by these students because of the fear factor. Okay? So yeah, this is what the problem that we see arises. So you have, whether it's Indian or any student, and then you have the access to seek help and addiction services. Look at the middle path. You have stigmatization from within the community and culture, fear and the cultural disconnect about the system, language barriers and poor communication, access barriers such as inadequate insurance coverage, and conditioning back home. So what happens is, even though there is a problem, like in this case, this girl has an issue, but she is not willing to come forward because she is scared. And this is where the education goes back to the orientation back home, where they have to actually educate them. That this is a civil society, you can complain, there are people here to help you. But that's also comes with the conditioning. So what we are overseeing right now is the list of these items: mental health, substance abuse, culture clash, stigma, discrimination, isolation, sex trafficking, domestic partner abuse, because there is that also happening, homelessness, bullying, sexual assault, and it's humongous because this just keeps on increasing. Our methods are very simple: guidance, awareness, education, counseling, therapy, workshops, recreational events, networking, jobs, and overall support. We are doing a lot, and we are very fortunate to have some fantastic partners in this case. I'm going to just name them. PCHS has been the engine and the support behind us. And Baldev Mutta, where are you, sir? Can I have you stand up? Could you stand up, sir? Give him a round of applause for this gentleman. So Baldev Mutta is literally a Canadian icon in helping the social services sector. He has been actually instrumental in a lot of cases being resolved. And he does it silently, just as his personality is. Then we have the Lotus Funeral and Cremation Center. And then we have Le Atre, which is more on the branding side and the marketing side. So some of the recent work that we're doing is mediation, job fairs, speed mentoring, one-on-one counseling, mental health support, webinars, body repatriation, which is a fantastic job that we're doing. It's, again, an art therapy talent show, which is something I invented because I believe that art can be actually combined to actually add some soul fulfillment for these students. And it's been very successful. It's been very successful. These are some pictures that you'll see. I got them all together and uncovered certain talent in these kids that they didn't believe that they have. So there is talent everywhere. Right now, sitting here in the room, I can actually take off and say how many people have that. You all have it. It's just that we don't access it.
We have the India Suno programs that's happening by our colleague over there. And before we go on to the next, I'll just like to read out something to you quickly so that it's something that I've written, being a poet of sorts. I'm yet to publish my book, which is almost ready right now. So it's called Suno, the poem. Spare a thought for these beautiful souls as they venture into their life roles, to endure a world that everything seems entangled, their thoughts mangled. Undoubtedly, their spirit is pure. As civil society, they seek a shoulder, a cure. Suno, listen, give them a ear. In all this noise, let us strive to elevate their fear. Untie the knots in their wings. Let them fly, like me and you, like a bird in the sky. Thank you. And can you play that song, please? I just want to actually put some fire under everyone's seat. So this song is going to actually add to it. Thank you very much. I would ask you to please support in whatever ways you can. Thank you.
Erwin, what great passion. Very nice. Thank you so much. Were you playing the guitar in that one? Yeah, that was very, very nice. Very, very nice. I lost my train of thought because that music was so good. Okay, next we have, Baldev Mutaji, great to have you here, sir. The founder and the former, just retired recently from Punjabi Community Health Services. He's been 45 years in this space, I think close to 50 years, and he's been blessed with numerous awards. He's getting one next week with Heritage Mississauga as well for all the work that he has done. Our final speaker is Kamal Bharadwaj, and he knows very well that he's going to be speaking right before lunch, no pressure. Kamal Bharadwaj is co-founder of Suno Canada and an authority on the funeral industry and philanthropist for more than 20 years. I know Kamal at a personal level. We're very good friends. When my dad passed away in 2020, we had the funeral service at Lotus, and he took very good care of his entire staff. So just want to put that out there and appreciate that. Kamal is the owner of Lotus Funeral and Cremation Home, Kitchener Funeral Home, and owner of Southwest Crematorium, as well as United We Care. Kamal is a board member for Bereavement Authority of Ontario and a consulting professor at Humber College. He has been doing a great service for the community by helping families repatriate their accident and suicide victims to India. Please welcome Kamal Bharadwaj.
Usually, as a funeral person, I don't get an applause when I come to the podium, but thank you for all that. Namaste, Sat Sri Akal. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here, but I'm here to talk about something that's very important. It's not an easy topic to talk about. It's death. Nobody wants to talk about death, but it's the reality in life. And in students right now, it is a reality as well. I want to tell you a little bit about my story. Several years ago, I noticed the numbers of student debts was increasing. Essentially, you know, when someone passes away, they pass away for several reasons, and this is life, and we would bring the body back to India, back to their hometown, their village, wherever they came from. It's not an easy thing to do, but this is what we do. This is our business, and this is the kind of work that we do. But then I started noticing the numbers were increasing. And what really made me look into this is this one particular young man had passed away. He was about 20 years old. He had passed away a few years ago. His father was an elderly man, so this father had his son later in life. The man was in his 70s, his father, and his son died. And we had to contact the father and his mother back in Punjab, and we're telling him that your son has passed away, and we have to bring the body back to Punjab, to India. The father didn't believe it. He said, "I don't believe you." And he said, "I'm going on a hunger strike. I'm not going to eat or drink anything until I see this boy back in my town, and I want to see if that's him." Well, back several years ago, it took a while to get someone back to India because of the paperwork, the bureaucratic things that had to be done through all the government agencies. And we begged and pleaded this elderly man to please, you know, "Uncle G, please eat something, please drink something. This is going to take time to bring him back." He refused. He got very sick while he was waiting. We eventually did get the body back there. But from that point on, I realized, I think I have to do something here. So I started researching. In fact, I contacted PCHS, Mr. Baldev Mutta, his organization. Through them, started looking into reasons why are these deaths happening more and more with students. I met wonderful people through the organization. Erwin, one of the co-founders, with me, and Anu, who is somewhere in this building. So the three of us got together to really explore what we can do. And this was several years ago. The media, the mainstream media, caught attention to this number of student deaths that were happening. And they started carrying it, national stories. So I was lucky to be on CTV National, CTV News, CBC, W5, even BBC called me. They ran stories on it, national, on TV, radio. All this to spread the message what is happening. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you today, we are doing 5 deaths a month for international students. 5 deaths a month. You think 1 is too much? This is 5. This is across Canada, a lot in Ontario. Even 1 month this summer, we had 8 young children, teenagers, early 20s, that are dying, and we're bringing their bodies back to India. Now, we talk about suicide. I have to clarify one point, because when it comes to suicide, every time there's a young person who passes away, it's under investigation by the coroner's office. The coroner's office does not discuss the results with us. That's a private matter between family and the coroner. But I can tell you from visual observation, and I've been in the industry for 20 plus years, when you see ligature marks on the neck, when you see bodies broken, you know that they hung themselves or they jumped, or various other things. Because someone who's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, they should not be dying. But this is what is happening. Could you imagine? In fact, I was on CTV morning show, and the host asked me, "You know, I want to ask you something." And this is true. They asked me this question. They said, "You know, you're a funeral home owner, and you know, you're making money on people dying, and you're doing this work. Why are you having a charity organization called Suno?" Because I was talking about Suno on the show. "And why are you helping them? I mean, this is your business." I said, "I'm a father. I have children. Close your eyes. If you have children, could you imagine if you lost your son or daughter? Yes, it's a business, but I'm a parent. This is not something I want on any one of you to happen for your children. So I took that a bit as a fire to put under me to do some more work, whatever I could do. So we've really been creating a community under Sunand to help communicate, to reach out to all these students. And I find WhatsApp, I tell you, there's these large WhatsApp groups that are communicating. Students trust students. It's hard sometimes for them to trust administration, but they trust other students. So we have a big community, and that's how Sunand's been growing campus to campus. We're going, doing grassroots work, 2 different organizations, 2 different institutions, and going class to class. We were at Sistar Lambton College not too long ago. We went class to class, started early in the morning, right to their late classes, talking about that we are here to help. So we do this campus to campus. But getting back to the debts, you know, these students are under extreme amount of pressure. We know that. We hear it, we talk about it. The parents have sold half their farm just to send their child to come here. They never left their village before, their child. They've come here to a big city alone. They don't have the support system of their parents, of their relatives. They're alone here, they're young children, alone. And they have to perform. Some of them have to send money back. And they have an extreme amount of pressure. So suicide, mental health, all these things are all something they go through, right? Some are unable to go through it, and unfortunately, they kill themselves. So I'm asking you, as a community, as business owners, as institutions, please help. We have donation forms on your tables. We're asking you to please donate. Please help us, because 1 death a month is too much. We need to reduce these number of deaths. So that's why I wanted to talk to you today, because I want you to understand the reality of the situation. Yes, they're going through housing and all these, but the deaths are extreme, and we don't want them. We don't want to bring these children back in caskets and sending them back to India or anywhere around the world. So thank you for listening. God bless everyone. I wish you all a long, long, happy life. I know it sounds funny from a guy who does funerals for a living, but I really do wish you a long, long, happy life. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much, Kamal. Thank you. We're going to, so yes, folks, the forms are at your table. And you've heard what, you have heard Sunand. You've heard what Sunand is all about. Please, you can donate by Visa, Mastercard, Amex. All the details are here, and you can just, you know what needs to get done, and you know what you're able to do. We're going to do Q&A, right, sir? Vipul coming up, and I think we're going to keep the Q&A short. We are going to have a networking session once the entire afternoon's done. So please, if you want to speak with our speakers, they'll be around. Please do that. But I think for this part, Vipul, you're going to do some quick questions and just maybe some quick responses, if that's okay, just because of time. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you all the speakers for wonderful presentations. We extended the session by about 15-20 minutes because it was a very valuable and important discussion to have. So lunch will be served any moment now. I will just ask one quick question to each of you, if you can give brief answers. In the interest of time, we'll not be able to take audience questions for this particular session. We'll do it again in the third session. And then in the post-event session 3:15 to 4, feel free to talk to any speaker. So we'll start with Sunandji first. While institutes are waking up to challenges faced by international students, do you believe the support provided by colleges and universities is sufficient to the magnitude of challenges, or is this still more like a face saver for the institutions than a genuine concern to help? I mean, that's what some people talk about.
Yeah, I think being part of post-secondary, the dilemma is the changing nature of what's being asked of post-secondary institutions. So when I started 15 years ago, we didn't offer housing support, we didn't offer food support. So my question is that I think everyone can always do more. I can't speak to the rest of the folks, but I'm proud to work at Sheridan for where we've responded to some of these immediate needs. But there is a struggle to determine what's the responsibility of the social services, what's the responsibility of an academics, and how far you can go. So that's my short answer.
Thank you. Next question is for Dr. Nagina Parmar. You presented a wonderful study. The question is, I mean, sometimes I have to play the devil's advocate, ask some tough but relevant questions. So the question is, do the institutions implement these findings, or do they end up in a closet somewhere until the next study is done?
Very good question, and thank you so much for your question. I think that's our next goal, is that the rationale for the study was to share the findings with the institutions. So right now we are actually going to publish it. We have sent it for publication, the findings, and I can share it if anyone is interested. And also we have shared with the organization, and we are planning to investigate more study, like you said we needed, because this was the limitation of the study was because it was at the university study. So we want to reach out to all the colleges where the students are, so that will actually, and also add some of the questions like depression issues, suicide issue, and also discrimination and microaggressions. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So Anushka, you are next. You meet with various key decision makers, as you were saying in your presentation. So can you point out maybe one or two of your suggestions or recommendations that have been acted upon or accepted? And you see your representations now carry more weightage, more awareness?
So I may say that currently we went through so many presentations, like so many discussion with different consulate journal of India in Toronto, even various unions to talk about student awareness. And still we are gathering a lot of different feedbacks, like what students are facing, because in my opinion we talked to numerous student leaders from different colleges and a lot of presidents and the coordinators, board of directors, to gather their views, because president know well about their college, because various students are coming to them telling about their concern. So we discuss about it, but we always say it's like there are a lot of students who didn't come up with their queries, who didn't tell about what they're facing. So as we have the International Youth Canada and its Instagram channel, where students can personally talk about the issue, and later on we'll come up with a new profile mentioning about them and taking action about those issues soon. So this would be my short answer. Thank you.
Sure. So thank you for the great job that you guys are doing as student representatives, So Irwin, while we talk about the challenges that the students face, what challenges Suno Canada as an organization face running this not-for-profit, trying to solve other people's problems?
Actually, that's a very relevant question, and that's why we're here today, actually, because of this. Definitely, the issue here is time, money, resources, right? So it goes back to the factor that, remember, this is a non-profit organization, and seriously, we're non-profit, is that we are not affiliated to any funded thing that comes from the government. So we are doing this purely to our accord, because we felt there was a need and this had to be done. So I would say the main objective is right now the financial factor, which is why, because the students have increased. If you saw my slide, which says it's quadrupled, from 200, now it's about almost 1 million students here. So what happens is you're swamped with calls, you're swamped with all the stuff, and you need to actually address it. And you don't have the resources, but you want to do it. You seriously want to do it. So that's where my answer is. It comes back to the whole factor of being financial, having financial strength.
Sure. Kamalji, my question, you already addressed it pretty much, but it must be so awkward. More deaths means more business for you, right? For a funeral home, So must be a very difficult kind of a feeling. Although we must commend you how you have turned your funeral home business into an almost social cause. With more attention being drawn to this serious issue, do you see the community actually coming around to support you, to help, to raise more awareness, to participate more actively, as a community overall, not just supported by 1 or 2 or 5 people? It's everybody's problem. And as a community, it's when we say we are X amount of number, 1 million, 2 million, then everybody has to pitch in somewhere, something. So you see that more, happening more now?
So yes and no. When it comes to when a young person passes away, it becomes more of a media story, right? But in terms of the cultural communities, like the Indian communities and so forth, and what a lot of people don't realize is it's very costly to bring a body back to India, okay? So what if there's no money, right? Because technically, if they're a student, like a full-time student, they can have insurance coverage. But sometimes what happens is when they're going through mental health issues, they drop out. They no longer have any coverage. Suicide, or they pass away, and then they have to bring their body back. They have a poor family back in India. So what do you do? So social conscience, yes, I contribute. I put funds towards to bring them back. I've done that a lot of these types of charity work to bring their bodies back without taking any money from the family. But what happens is, as a community, a lot of them will actually take a cause, gurdwaras, mandirs and that, and they will raise money within that community through online donations, through these different platforms, GoFundMe and so forth, to raise money to help the family, bring the person back, their young person back to their country, their home, and also to give some money back to the family, whatever has been raised, right? It'll go back to the family. So yes and no, in the sense that when certain communities get involved, religious organizations, that they will raise money for somebody who can't afford it. So that has worked. But then there's people who just shy away from it, right? Because there's like there's the bad side of these students too, right? They'll see them racing cars and say, oh, these students doing their nonsense again, right? But that's just such a small number compared to the hundreds and hundreds of thousands that are living here, that are doing things the right way, right? But so yes and no is the best way to answer that.
Okay, sure. So that concludes the second session. This went a little bit over the scheduled time, but we will now have lunch served on tables, and then the third session we will start around 2 o'clock. So we'll finish the third session by 3. Then the formal announcement of the scholarship program from about 3 to 3:15, and then the next 45 minutes is the post-event networking. So we are still on schedule. We'll still finish by 4. So we'll just take, I think, a group picture with all the speakers, and then please enjoy the lunch.
All right, folks, thank you very much. It is such a great honor to have our Consul General of India for Toronto join us today. That's the Honorable Mr. Siddharth Nath. Just to tell you a little bit about him, he's a career diplomat who joined the Indian Foreign Service in 2003. He has been posted in the Embassy of India in Beijing in the past, and the permanent mission of India to the Conference on Disarmament in Geneva. Prior to his appointment as Consul General of India in Toronto, he served as India's Deputy High Commissioner in Singapore. At headquarters in New Delhi, he has served in the United Nations in the political division as desk officer for Afghanistan and Iran, and in the National Security Council Secretariat in New Delhi. He served as director in the Prime Minister's office in New Delhi, and then headed the Internal Finance Division of the Ministry of External Affairs. He has studied economics at the Delhi School of Economics in India and Northwestern University in the United States, right in Chicago. He just joined his post here just recently. And I got to tell you, I see him at so many events. Today, he's actually coming in from Windsor. He met with Windsor business organizations and some of the leaders in that community. and drove here. And we asked him if he'd like to join us for lunch, but he said, I just grabbed a sandwich on the road. He is a very hardworking, dedicated person, and it's great to have him here. Would you please welcome the Consul General of India for Toronto, the Honorable Mr. Siddharth Nath, to bring greetings.
Thank you very much. Thank you as always for this very generous introduction. Mr. Vipuljani, distinguished members of the audience, all the dedicated stakeholders who are working towards making not just this conference a success, but also making the lives of Indian students here a bit better. It is indeed a privilege for me to join all of you for this very timely and very important event. There is no doubt that student exchanges and the interaction, the educational interaction between India and Canada is a very important facet of the bilateral partnership. And that is a partnership that will remain important irrespective of the headlines of the day. Indian students have contributed greatly to the institutions that they are in Canada, but also to the broader Canadian economy and to the communities in which they live and work. There has been a significant increase in the number of international students, including from India, in the last few years. And this has also brought with it challenges which all of us are well aware of. These challenges in particular have been a concern for us at the High Commission, at the Consulate, and we are delighted that the conference today has dealt with many of these issues, both in terms of the contribution that students make here and in terms of addressing the challenges which students face in a way that brings all the stakeholders together, because we know that these challenges are such that they cannot be resolved by one entity or the other. There are multiple reasons for the challenges and multiple stakeholders involved in finding solutions for those challenges. So it is indeed very timely to have this event here today. We have, of course, Mr. Guru Subramaniam here from the High Commission in Ottawa. The High Commissioner himself was due to be here, but he could not come. But I'm happy to represent him here. Both the High Commission and the Consulate have been keenly involved in doing all we can on the issue of student welfare, including being in touch with many of the institutions represented here in the room and many of the other stakeholders who are also represented here. This, of course, includes interactions, regular meetings with various educational institutions, the other stakeholders, and with the students themselves. As the conference today and the subject of the conference so correctly mentions, educational exchanges are not necessarily a one-way street between India and Canada. And it's been, in the short time that I've been here, 3 months, it's also been very heartening to see the increased focus on collaborations between institutions here in Canada and institutions in India, some of the very eminent institutions on both sides. We hope that the new education policy 2020 that was announced by the Government of India is something that interests universities and colleges and other institutions here and encourages them to enhance their partnership with Indian entities and collaborations in India in general, following the various models that are available in the policy, from joint research exchanges, student and faculty exchanges, to joint degree programs, to even setting up campuses in India. We have seen some interest from various institutions here. I must admit that in many other countries there's been even greater interest. But we look forward from the High Commission and the Consulate to do all we can to engage with stakeholders as they explore the NEP, on which my colleague Mr. Guru Subramaniam will be speaking in, of course, the panel which follows. Before I conclude, just wanted to note how happy I am that Seneca College and IMEC are partnering along with Mr. Ray Gupta and other stakeholders to offer scholarships to students from India and other regions. I also appreciate the fact that part of the proceeds from today's event will be given to Suno Canada, which is an institution that's involved in helping students in distress and their families back in India. And given how important, how critical that is, there's, I think, no efforts can be too little or too much to address this very significant problem. But it's a problem that can only be addressed when the community comes together, all the stakeholders come together. So I'm really thankful to this initiative and to today's event. Thank you all so much.
It's a small token of our appreciation, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, the Honorable Consul General of India for Toronto, the Honorable Siddharth Naji. Okay, folks, it's time for our first session. And I'd like to invite our first speaker, that's Mr. C. Guru Subramanian, for his presentation. He's a counselor, press, education, and culture at the High Commission of India in Ottawa. He joined the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India in October 1989. Some of you weren't even born back then. Okay. And has held various staff positions. See, I'm laughing at my own jokes, because you're not. So, he joined the Minister of External Affairs, Government of India in October 1989. I said that again because of the year. And has held various staff positions in New Delhi and Indian missions in Geneva, Pyongyang, Prague, Washington, D.C., Kampala. I said that with emphasis because my parents were there a long time ago. Colombo and Gaborone, where he also officiated as acting High Commissioner. He has been working on education and student matters since 2008. Before joining his present position in Ottawa in March 2021, he served as a senior staff officer to India's External Affairs Minister. Great to have him here. Would you please welcome Mr. Guru Subramanian.
Thank you, Jake, for this wonderful introduction. Thank you very much, Vipul Janiji, to invite us. Thank you, sir, Consul General, sir, for your august presence here. With your blessings, I will start making this presentation. My presentation is on the India's new education policy and scope for partnership with Canadian institutions that is being talked about. Okay. India's new education policy was introduced in July 2020. The Union Cabinet of India approved the national education policy to usher in reforms in the education system in India from school to higher education to meet the requirements of the 21st century. National Education Policy 2020 envisions a massive transformation in education through an education system rooted in Indian ethos that contribute directly to transforming India sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all, thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. The policy came into effect in the academic year 2023-24 and thus is also known as NEP 2023. NEP 2020 envisions a brand new education system, shifting focus from exam-centric to holistic, experiential education system. The present higher education ecosystem in India, there are a total of 1,043 universities, out of which 70% are governed under state acts, 18% by the central government. 94% students are enrolled in state and private institutions, and 6% enrolled in central institutions. In the NEP 2020, a strong emphasis has been laid on multiple dimensions that positively influence the overall growth of the students, their mind development, and career clarity. This is seen in initiatives such as technology use, experiential mode of learning, and multiple entry and exit options that are being inbuilt into the system. The multidisciplinary approach enables students to opt for subjects across streams, encouraging cross-disciplinary learning. The NEP 2020 stresses incorporation of vocational education in mainstream education with appropriate synchronization, complementing conventional education. Clear importance is given to honing skills and competencies of children from a young age, preparing them suitably for their careers. A revamping of school education from preschool to secondary level is sought to be achieved with a 5+3+3 4 years of education, focusing on activity-based learning at the foundational stage and more in-depth learning as they move up. Annual examinations are being sought to be replaced with examinations at milestone stages. In higher education, NEP 2020 provides valuable insights and recommendations on various aspects that include multidisciplinary curricula, promotion of quality research, equity and inclusion. Even engineering institutions like IITs will move towards offering additional subjects like arts and humanities. Students of arts and humanities will also learn more science in their own respective institutions. Flexible and innovative curricula of higher education institutions will include credit-based courses and projects and covering areas of community engagement, including climate change, etc. Model public universities with multidisciplinary education on par with IITs, IIMs, etc., called MERUs will be set up to attain global standards. The structure and lengths of degree programs are being sought to be adjusted. Undergraduate degree will be for either 3 or 4 year duration with multiple exit options within this period. Master's program will be offering a 2-year program for those with a 3-year degree and 1-year master program for those with a 4-year degree with research. For undertaking PhD, a 4-year degree with research will be required. Option of offering an integrated 5-year bachelor's and master's degree is also being envisaged. The policy's vision include some key changes such as higher educational system consisting of large multidisciplinary universities and colleges with at least one near the districts and with more education systems across India that offer medium of instruction and programs in local Indian languages to encourage students. A university will mean a multidisciplinary institution of higher learning. That offers undergraduate and graduate programs with high quality teaching, research and community engagement. The definition of university will thus allow a spectrum of institutions that place equal emphasis on teaching and research. Research intensive universities, those that place greater emphasis on teaching but still conduct research. Teaching intensive universities, autonomous degree granting colleges, will refer to large multidisciplinary institutions, typically smaller than a university, but focusing on undergraduate teaching. In order to re-energize the higher education sector, regulatory mechanisms are also sought to be revamped and created in terms of distinct essential functions of regulation, that is accreditation, grants, and General Education Council. Higher education qualification framework to be in sync with the National Skills Qualification Framework. Basically, what the new education policy is stressing on is to develop skills from a very younger age and then offering quite a lot of vocational subjects in between, so that skill development is given more focus. Professional councils such as the Indian Council for Agricultural Research, that is ICAR, Council of Architecture, etc., will be restructured as professional standard setting bodies, and they will be mandated to lay down curriculum, academic standards, and coordinate between teaching, research, and extension into real life situations. And then they will also be part of the General Education Council, which is sought to be the umbrella organization looking after all the higher education. NEP 2020 proposes to promote India as a destination for global higher education, providing premium education at affordable cost, and restore India's glorious past as Vishwaguru, having been home to great centers of learning such as Nalanda, Takshashila, Vikramshila, and Vallabhi. Towards this end, NEP encourages Indian HIEs to forge global partnerships with universities and research institutions, exchange of students and research and faculty, and their exposure of visiting international scholars to Indology and Indian studies. HEIs will host foreign students and will have dedicated international students' offices that will be helping the partnerships. Top-ranking foreign universities will be encouraged to set up campuses in India, and enabling framework will be put in place. The University Grants Commission has already instituted regulations for collaboration of Indian universities with foreign higher education institutions for twinning, joint degree, and dual degree programs. These degrees will be equivalent to what is being offered in foreign institutions. Draft regulations for setting up of operations and campuses in India by foreign institutions have been shared with relevant stakeholders, and they are in advanced stages of consultation stages before being finalized. The regulations were supposed to be promulgated in May or June of this year, but still it is taking a couple of months more for them to finalize and announce it properly. In a bold initiative to boost internationalization, foreign institutions, top 5 global universities interested in opening their campuses in India will have necessary autonomy to design the curricula, define admission criteria, employ necessary faculty, both Indian and from abroad, decide on the compensation packages for faculty, and they will be allowed to repatriate funds. Funds transfer will be enabled. Standards of teaching in campuses in India have to be maintained at the same level as in their origin countries, and courses cannot be given online or ODL mode to encourage more in-person participation. Qualifications awarded to students studying in those extended campuses shall be recognized and treated on par with those awarded at their campuses in the country of origin. The foreign institutions will of course be expected to respect India's national interests, sovereignty and territorial integrity while designing their courses and in the conduct of classes. In the draft regulations, it has been proposed to give permission for foreign institutions to set up their campuses initially for a period of 10 years, and then which will be extendable based on the assessment and performances. This NEP, though it has been announced in 2020, it took a couple of years for it to get into practice. Even now, there has been a constant review of how it is getting implemented. Already there are quite a lot of universities that have tied up with Indian universities in offering joint degree and dual degree programs like our Consul General was just mentioning. These collaborations are whatever you call live wire interaction, on both ways. Recently, the Parliamentary Committee, Standing Committee on Education did a review of the implementation of NEP. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Subramanian. Very, very informative. Makes me want to set up a university in India. I don't have the smarts to do that, but I'm going to call up Harry, who can help me do that. Our next speaker is Harry, and once Harry speaks, I'm going to invite Mr. Subramanian back up here with Harry, and then Vipul will come up and we'll do a bit of a Q&A, and then that special presentation at the end. So, with close to 20 years in innovation and technology sectors, Harry has had the opportunity to lead and collaborate with organizations and teams across the globe. His engineering background, enriched by managerial expertise, has served him well in international partnership development. This experience has taken him to various key markets, including the United States, Europe, and Asia. Harry holds a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from the Rochester Institute of Technology and a master's in engineering management from the University of Ottawa. Please welcome Harry Sharma.
Thank you so much, Jake. And yeah, no, I'm not that impressive, but he makes me sound really good. Thank you so much, Vipul, for inviting me to be a part of this conversation. Your Excellency, so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for all the stakeholders that are in the room today. I know this morning's session was more about what's happening today. Where are we in terms of Indian students who are here, in Canadian institutions who are working on bringing Indian students here. But I'm going to take the other side of the paradigm that we haven't talked much about. I'm going to throw three numbers at you: 400 million, 1 billion, and 10 trillion. Sound pretty impressive, right? Throughout the story, I'm going to connect these numbers for you to tell you why this policy that Mr. Subramanian has described so eloquently. It is India's response to the current knowledge-based economy that we live in. So 10 trillion, where is that number coming from? Latest estimates are putting India's economy at $10 trillion by 2030. It's not that far off. We're in 2023. That's 7 years from now. Currently, India sits at about 3.5 trillion, if I'm not wrong, Your Excellency. I don't want to get the numbers wrong. That's 3 times the growth. 3 times the growth. Do we, as Canada, do we want to be part of that growth story or not? My vote is for, yeah, let's do that, right? But how are we going to do it? Are we going to continue to tell India, send us your brightest here, we'll teach them really great stuff, and we'll collaborate with you? My mom can tell you that is not a collaborative strategic partnership. That sounds way, way one-sided to me, right? So let's talk about the other number that I put out, 1 billion. That is, according to the World Economic Forum, the size of India's middle class in the next decade. Imagine that, 1 billion middle-class consumers. And that is according to global standards. I'm not saying, yes, there is purchasing power parity and all of that, but that is according to World Economic Forum. Think about the opportunity that we have. Now, the third number that I talked about, 400 million. That is, unfortunately, the number of students, the number of active workforce participants who have to be upskilled. And India recognizes that, right? Again, I don't speak on the behalf of the government of India, but as someone who's worked in the Canada-India innovation and trade space for the last 10 years, I can tell you there has never been a better time to collaborate, strategically collaborate with India. 400 million students would need to be upskilled. We talked about 200,000 students, more or less, in Canada right now. Guess what? 400 million is 2,000 times the current capacity that we have for this strategic collaboration. Now, is it going to happen overnight? Absolutely not. Is it going to happen based on the current business models that we have? Absolutely not. No Indian parent will want to send their kid, I can guarantee you that, in the next 10 years to any country that does not seem safe to them, that does not seem a better economic opportunity to them, and India will be a very, very fast growing economy by then. So Canadian institutions, I know there are many here, there are many out there that we will be talking to. We have our tasks cut out for ourselves. How do we create business models that are truly strategic in nature? And we get to do that by actually looking at the policy that we just heard the overview of. There are opportunities. I'm not going to bore you. I did have a presentation. I'm not going to bore you because you've been looking at slides all day long. I'm not going to do that. But here are some opportunities. Co-curricular development, right? What that means is we really have to get into the nitty-gritty details of what are Indian institutions doing. There are thousands of them, right? We heard the numbers. There are thousands of Indian institutions that are currently racing to train the next 400 million workers that need to be upskilled. Why can't we, as Canada, Canadian institutions, Canadian businesses, why can't we go in and say, how can we partner with you in your curriculum design? This is not a direct financial proposition up front. This is, nobody will pay you $20,000 per student to do that, unfortunately. And look, I'm not advocating for diluting what we do right now. This is great. Canada being home to the talent that wants to come out of India and settle in Canada, absolutely, we should continue to promote that. However, at the same time, I think we can increase the size of the pie. So let's work as Canada, as Canadian institutions, as Canadian businesses, on truly reaching out to the Indian institutions and saying, let's collaborate on curriculum designs, and let's co-generate some of that. Let's not tell them, here's how we do it, you should learn from us. No. Indian realities are different. Anybody who's ever been to India will tell you the first thing that hits you when you land at the Indira Gandhi airport in Delhi is India is different. And rightly so, right? One of the oldest civilizations in the world, proud civilization. Never going to just say, okay, well, you guys have done economically well over the last 100 years, so we will just conform to your realities. No, right? It doesn't work that way. So let's be authentic in our genuine approach to those Indian partners. Second, vocational training. That is something that is steeped deeply into the new education policy that we talked about. Canadian businesses, 98% of you are small businesses. We know you have skills requirements. We know you have talent challenges. Why can't we, the land of small businesses, Canada, why can we not enable our small businesses to start laying those foundations of the talent requirements that they're going to have in the next 5 to 10 years by collaborating with other Indian businesses and other academic institutions? I think that's a very nice opportunity, a genuine opportunity for us to collaborate, right? And the third one is the academic degrees that we talked about, joint degrees, dual degrees. Again, all of those things, I'm sorry to say, I don't mean to come across as petty, but we cannot go into those partnerships and say, I am going to charge you a full freight of $20,000 per student, and yes, you are welcome to come. Please, that's not going to continue to happen. It will plateau. It will plateau because India is growing. You know, anybody who's heard the famous Wayne Gretzky quote, go where the puck is going. And I'm telling you, India will be a $10 trillion economy. It's not my estimates, it's the world experts who are saying that. So let's go where the puck is going. Let's genuinely create those partnerships. The national education policy provides us all the frameworks, all the supports that we need to make that happen. So let's extend that genuine, approach to partnership. With that, I will take my seat. Thank you.
Thanks, Harry. That was great. My dad practiced immigration law for about 40 years, and he used to say, so he used to get immigrants coming to this beautiful country, and I love this country, and he used to say, there will come a time when people will want immigration to go to India, and I think that time is not too far away. So thank you for that, to both of you, for that meaningful conversation. I'd like to invite Vipul Jani to come up here and maybe do the Q&A at this point, Vipul, and then we'll invite our Consul General to come up and for that special presentation.
Thank you again, both the speakers. So I believe Harry forgot, he had a presentation as well. Anyway, so, you just talked about follow where the puck is going. Who else needs to be told that? Toronto Maple Leafs. They probably don't know where the puck is going. So
I keep my experience just to innovation and trade. I'll let the hockey professionals do that. So.
But they need some innovation too, right? Because whatever they are doing is not working. Anyway, so before I ask a couple of questions, can I request maybe Yash or Umesh Bhai to collect the forms from each table, because then we have to do the total and then announce whatever we can raise for Suno Canada. So please collect any and all donation forms from each table. Once again, last opportunity, anyone wishes to contribute anything, $100, $200, $500, whatever, it all adds up. Okay, so the first question is for Guruji, Guru Subramanian. Education, I believe, is on a concurrent list in India, right? Which means it can be decided, run, managed by both the center and the state. So now the new education policy is devised by the government of India. And what kind of enthusiasm or cooperation institutions can expect or receive from various different state governments run by different parties?
Yeah. Okay. The national education policy, though it has been drafted and then presented as a national policy by the central government, as you rightly said, it is a concurrent list subject, and then all the state governments have been given enough autonomy, and their inputs have also been taken. They have also been given enough powers to design the school education and all other things within the broad parameters of what has been laid out in the NEP. There has been a general, you can say there is a unanimous support for the NEP. There has been no what you call different, every state government realizes the importance of education. Already, since it is a concurrent list subject, and then they know the NEP is basically drawing new parameters and then easing the burden of the school systems. That is what has been sought to be achieved. That is why there has been that much of thrust for vocational education from the very early levels. So there has been no no opposition per se for these policies from the state government so far.
Sure. Thank you. Good to know, actually. I am sure that is one question that may be on a lot of people's minds. So for Harry Sharma, education had a big transition, I would say, in terms of online learning during the pandemic, and introduction of technology in education, even in the remotest areas, which would have otherwise taken them maybe another 30-40 years. So with your background in technology, education, and Canada-India relations, you are probably the best person to tell us the role that technology is playing or will play in the education sector in India, in Canada, and on the bilateral level?
That's a great question, Vipul. And I think, look, I'm an engineer by training, and I am as a technologist as it gets. I am an eternal optimist who believes that technology, if deployed right, has the potential to solve the hardest problems that we face today. And as we saw, at the onset of the pandemic, the online education platforms were ready to go, right? You turned the switch on. Academic institutions that had said, no, never. You can never do 100% remote online training because it doesn't meet the standards. Within a couple of months of the pandemic, they were like, yeah, this is how you deliver a degree. Yes, of course it can be done. Of course we love it. And to this day, online classes are very much the norm. However, I also recognize as someone who lives in a society that humans are social animals. We do need some in-person, face-to-face interaction. So I think the sweet spot of the future of education will be technology-enabled, but not technology only, right? It does mean that there will be full accessibility. Students can learn when, where, and how they want, but at the same time, for them to be meaningfully applying those skills that they have learned, we need to provide them with opportunities to apply those, which is hands-on training, right? And I think that's where the Canada-India complementarities come into play. Canada has some of the best technology companies when it comes to learning management systems to deliver those, right? D2L, for example, Desire to Learn out of Waterloo, one of the global, and I'm pretty sure my colleagues from the academic sector already know all about it, one of the best companies in the world to do it, and it's being used everywhere. Now, when it comes to deploying it in India, in the Indian context, that's where I think some of the companies like, and Baiju is probably not the PC were a company to acknowledge, but because they've had some financial troubles for those of you who don't know. But Baiju's and the upgrads of India actually know how to deploy that technology to get into the consumer's hands, right? So on the Indian side, there are absolutely fantastic entrepreneurs and technology deployers who know how to get into the hands of the consumers, whereas Canada is great at just world-class technology on making it happen. So I think there is a very nice sort of again, genuine collaboration to happen, and we should go into as such.
Sure. Thank you. Good to know. So now we'll take a few questions from the audience as well.
Any questions? Prashant?
I don't know how appropriate it is, but just wanted to ask with the experts. Means with this light of India-Canada G2G spat, how Indian higher education institution will welcome Canadian collaboration? So that is what it has been going in my mind, because I'm planning for my travel, and I think many others who have ongoing collaboration, they will be looking forward to go back, but this is something in the back of the mind, like how we will be received and what will be the views on it. Thank you.
I think Mr. Prashant, Consul General has already answered your question. He started his speech saying that collaboration in the education field, student exchanges will keep on continuing irrespective of the current today's headlines. That's what he told. So nothing more to say on that.
We have a question over here. Yep.
Hello, my name is Nagina, and this question is from Mr. Subramaniam about your NEP policy. It's a great policy. My question is that would there be any opportunity for collaboration for faculties who were trained in India and then they came here and then they would like to collaborate with the institutions in India and probably have some kind of research experience and maybe have teaching opportunities as well? Thank you.
Thank you. The NEP already envisages exchanges of faculty, researchers, and teaching staff, both ways. But it has to be within the, it is not an individual effort. It has to be through the institutional collaboration. This institutional collaboration has also been defined at this point, that NEPs suggest that top 500 institutions across the world will be welcome to enter into this collaboration, setting up campuses, through that also engaging faculty and all that. So if it is coming through that institutions, it should not be a problem.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much.
So I'll just add one more question for Harry.
Yep.
It's about education not for the sake of education. I mean, this is one thing that I believe we have all heard before. We have all seen someone going through it. You can have a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year-old degree, get your convocation done, put your degree on the wall, everything is, fine. But does it make you job ready? Does it get you the job in today's environment or tomorrow, right? So do you think our institutions, either in India or in Canada, are providing the necessary job-ready education, and you also provide sort of something similar services? So where do you see this thing going?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So I also had the opportunity to work for the Conference Board of Canada, where I was leading their innovation and technology practice. And the basic remit was to look at what are employers looking for, what are their current skills requirements. And I can tell you categorically that the conclusion is hard skills are easier to acquire and to train for than soft skills are. Future is going to be more social and emotional. If this is news to any one of you, I highly recommend that we have a conversation today. It's urgent. Red flag, right? Let's talk today. Social and emotional skills, leadership skills, critical thinking skills, communication skills, collaboration skills, those are what employers are looking for. If your institution, I know, and everybody says, I have yet to meet a single academic institution that has told me that they do not design their curriculum based on the industry needs. But yet, let me give you one fact from India. 60% of engineering graduates, and I believe the NEP will address it, but 60% of engineering graduates are not job ready. That is according to Indian surveys, right? NEP will address that because you heard Mr. Subramaniam talk about holistic development, multidisciplinary, right? Vocational. Those are responses to it. And that's what I was referring to with the 400 million, right? So there is tons of opportunity. Are we doing that in Canada? No, absolutely not. Over and over again, I live in Ottawa. We have the largest technology park in Canada. It's called the Canada North Technology Park. And guess what? A majority of technology businesses that are based in Canada are telling us that they do not get job-ready graduates from community colleges, universities, and that's where the, and again, not a plug for the Ottawa Education Group. I would love for you to check us out, but that's why we exist. We are working with existing institutions, existing employers to create pathways that would help them overcome those challenges. So, thank you.
Thank you to both of you gentlemen. Thank you. You want to take a picture, Vipul? All right, thank you very much. I would like to invite now, thank you gentlemen, thank you to both of you. Vipul, you stay up here. I'd like to invite our Consul General, the Honorable Siddharth Naji, to please come up, as well as if I can please also invite Ray Gupta, the founder, the president, CEO of Sunray Groups. So we've been talking about this. We have a fantastic announcement to make. Today is a truly historic moment for a first of its kind scholarship program in Canada. Conceptualized and proposed by Vipul Jani of IMEC, Pardada Pardadi Education Society, or PPES Canada, will identify, this is really cool, will identify and bring 6 underprivileged girls from their residential hostel in Uttar Pradesh, India. Their entire travel costs, all accommodation and food, etc., will be taken care of. Seneca Polytechnic will charge them domestic student fees as part of their CSR initiative and offer them a 2-year hospitality course. Once they complete their studies, the amazing Ray Gupta's company, Sunray Group, one of the largest hotel chains in Canada, will help them find suitable employment either at his own hotels or elsewhere. Isn't that incredible? That is incredible. That's making impact. That's making change. IMEC will play the supporting role in taking this initiative to its logical conclusion, but by providing these girls Canadian education and employment, they will be ready to fly on their own. Thank you to Vipul Jani for your wonderful initiative, and thank you to Seneca Polytechnic, to PPS Canada, Sunray Group, and Ray Gupta for supporting this incredible idea wholeheartedly. This is absolutely terrific. Do you want to say something too? Prashant, if you can please come up. Prashant Srivastava and Amar Bhatia, if you can please come up, sir. Amarji. For this group picture. So you probably can't read what's in the frame, but that's a framed formal MOU that's being presented. And once this photograph's taken, I'm going to invite Vipul just to talk about how much you collected for Suno Canada, and then also as well as closing remarks.
So, as Jake was saying, this is one initiative that we were working on for the last several months. And as he mentioned, we'll be bringing some 6 girls from India. And Seneca has agreed to charge them as domestic student fees instead of international as part of their CSR initiative. So we are very much thankful to Seneca. Also thankful to Ray Gupta, Amar Bhatia, Sunray Group, PPS Canada, for validating and accepting this proposal. So I would just pass on the mic to all the 3, big players in this scheme of things to say a few words about this project.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great pleasure to join all of you here today. We started supporting this school in India. Actually, just a little story behind it. A gentleman from USA went back to his own village and realized that 25 years ago he left the village the way it was, and it remained the way it was. He said, the best way I can help by opening up a school. He started the school, but nobody will send any of the girls to their school. He wanted to educate girls, so if he educates one girl, that means he will educate the whole generation, next generation. So with this idea, he had $400,000 or $500,000 in his account. He opened up the school and no success. After maybe 6 months or so later, he realized that because the girls are helping them in their farms do the housework, so they didn't want to lose that help. So he went to them, he said, I will provide you with free education, uniforms, and 10 rupees a day I will put in their account. When they graduate, they'll have 40,000 rupees in their account if they complete their education. That took off. Today, from 2004, 2005, this school has over 3,000 students, 3,000 girl students. So it came to us 5 years ago, and we really liked the idea of supporting this school. And we have been supporting it in collaboration with Amar Bhatia, myself, and another joint, our partner, Vinod Gera, who is not here today. So we have been raising funds. Each year we have a fundraiser, and we raise funds. We have raised over $1.2 million in the last 5 years to support the school. And this year we started with the help of Vipul, to coordinating with Seneca College. We thought it would be a great idea if we can bring some of these students to Canada, give them an experience. On their own, these students, some of these students who may not even leave that village, have been getting scholarships to attend US universities, and some of these students have come and attended our galas, you know, and were the speakers there, and everybody was moved from the conversation how much they have progressed in their life just because of that school. Thank you very much. Okay.
Good afternoon, friends. My name is Amar Bhatia. I'm very thankful to Vipul for calling us here and His Excellency to be present here. This school, as Mr. Gupta has already told you everything about the school, all I want to say is the biggest gift you can give to anyone is education. And I consider this myself to be a part of it. It is because of our two partners, Mr. Gupta and Vinod Gera, who initiated this program, and I became a part of it. Thank you very much. Thanks for supporting us as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So again, this idea of philanthropy initiative was brought to us by Vipul Jani and our president, David Agnew, who couldn't be here today. Very much appreciated it, and he applauded it right away, and we are very grateful to Mr. Gupta and Vipul Jani and everyone involved in this partnership to be part of it. Also, it reflects on Seneca's values, and it is in our DNA that we care for education, we care for our students, and also our students from India. Thank you.
And just for closing remarks, please welcome the one and only, you know, you've done a great job. My goodness. Has he done? Make some noise for Vipul Jani. What engaging conversation. You brought all the right people to the table, and incredible, such insightfulness, incredible. So over to you for closing remarks.
Sure. So we have got a couple of quick things to do. One is, as I was saying, about the fundraising for Suno Canada. So as we collected the forms and everything, we have got about $5,000. Like all of my events actually that we do, I am going to put it out there again. Is there anyone that would like to match the amount so that 5,000 can become $10,000? That's what we have done previously at our gala events, and I'm just throwing it out there. You all saw what they do, Suno Canada. You all know the challenges the international students face. So this is the time, if anyone wish to contribute, just raise your hands. We'll give it a few seconds, or else we'll move on. Anyone? 1, 2, 3. No? It's okay, fine. So we have raised. Yes, go ahead, sir. Thank you sincerely. name and introduction.
Very, very kind of you, sir. Just your name and.
My name is Jaswinder, and you shouldn't clapping for me, you should clap for yourself. That you give this opportunity to be part of helping students in Canada through Suno NGO. And I'm just giving back to the society because I'm making money out of this business. And we wish all the best for the further initiatives at Suno Charity. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sunand.
Thank you, sir. So,
I'm just curious, what business are you? And I see ICICI Bank, but what business are you?
Should I promote myself or no?
Yeah, go ahead. Why not?
Alliance Immigration.
Immigration, okay.
Thank you.
So, if you are okay, Jake, if you're okay, if you can just maybe fill out the form and give it to him. So.
Oh yeah,
so
he
we
wants
can
the
then
money. Look
reach
at
out-
that, eh? Just sign that, but we'll do that right
so
now.
that we can reach out to him after,
Yes.
right? I mean.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Really
Okay.
appreciate it. And you know, Alliance Immigration is the organization. I've always believed you support organizations like that. Just saw my little sister Anu here. So let's support each other, all right? And thank you to Alliance Immigration for doing that. No, thank you, sir.
Okay, so
Vipul.
give us a couple of minutes. We'll just write the check here and then present it, and I'll bring everybody back again.
Okay. We were supposed to wrap up at 3:30. It's 3:21. We have 9 more minutes. Do you guys want to talk about anything, or are we good? We have, I think we have coffee, tea outside still. There'll be an opportunity for the next half hour or so to network and chat with each other. Please go around and look at all the different booths that are here, the tables, and please, the folks that were here who spoke, do speak with them if you'd like to get more conversation going. And make sure you say hi to my good friend, Mr. Baldev Mutta. I like to give him a shout out all the time because he's from Moga, Punjab, where I'm from. All right, so he's my Moga brother, which I always like. I'm just making conversation because you're not. All right. Hi, Viday. Viday is our wonderful leader at Panorama India. Anu Srivastava, my dear sister. You were next door eating for Trillium Diwali Gala. Thank you, sir. She's always eating. Yes, working and fun. She puts the fun in fundraising. Yeah.
Okay, so let us bring on stage Siddharth Nathji, Consul General, please.
Vipul is just checking it out. Oh.
Sure. Now I was just checking, maybe you put one more zero. It looks like 50,000.
All right, so we have,
All right.
yep.
So the CG is here. Let's bring Kamal. Kamal, are you here? Kamal Bardwaj.
Kamal?
From Suno, Canada.
Yeah, Kamal's
Irwin-
there, of course.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah.
Please come on stage. Irwin, Rego, and who else? Anu has left, I believe, right? Abhi, aa jao, sir.
Jaswinder ji, you come as well. Stop the hugging. Yahan Jaffi de dena. तेरे जैसा यार कहाँ
जसिंदर जी
तुसी भी आ जाओ पाजी मेरी पंजाबी भी ठीक है हम हिंदी भी बोल सकते हैं
अच्छा PCHS से भी obviously
हाँ पंजाबी कम्युनिटी हेल्थ सर्विस बलदेव मोटे आ जाओ यार
so tax receipt
पंजाबी कम्युनिटी हेल्थ सर्विसेज
tax receipt तो उन्होंने ही देना है
yes that's right Ray why don't we have you come up too my friend are you kidding for all that you've done what you continue to do please.
Okay, so after this check presentation, there is just one last thing to do. All the speakers from the previous sessions, if you are already not fed up, left already, if you are still here, please come up. We'll have a group photo with all the speakers from the previous sessions also.
Okay, a drum roll. $10,000 to Punjabi Community Health Services to support Suno. Thank you to each and every one of you, and of course, IMEC, Impact Media and Events Corporation, Vipul Jani. And then in the meantime, while this photograph's being taken, can I invite all the previous speakers to please come up for a group picture? Let's get that done as soon as we can. Thank you. All the previous speakers, please come on up. Yes. Thank you. Yep. One group picture and then yeah. Hopefully everybody's here. If not, we'll Photoshop them in. With thunderous applause. And really, how did you find the session today? Informative, engaging, great conversation. Should we do this again next year? We hope to see you again next year, right? Great.